All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for that. I've never had that happen like that before. But for those you don't that don't know me that well, I had a couple issues when I first started holding spaces with my things getting low and a little like we can't hear you. So I went and bought another $1,250 iPhone 16 Pro Max, and it's worse. So I'm starting to think it has nothing to do with the cell phone. You know what I'm saying?
No, it might just be, do you live near any crazy things like bodies of water or mountains?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't know. I don't know, but I got more service right here, but I don't understand. I can't don't know why that happened. I have my theories, like what Neely Fuller says, the usual suspects, right? So, where were we? Um, we were talking about. I was talking about a little scholarship from Chancellor Williams with respect to the Moors. Dr. Chancellor Williams says, now again, who were the Moors? The answer is very easy. The original Moors, like the original Egyptians, were black Africans. As amalgamation became more and more widespread, only Berbers, Arabs, and coloreds in Moroccan territories were called the Moors, while the darkest and black skinned Africans were called the Blackamoors. Eventually, the term black was dropped from Blackamoor in North Africa and Morocco in particular. So, like Wani was saying earlier, where's all this lightning coming from? Uh, Amalgamation, what I discovered, believe it or not, earlier this week by accident, had a conversation with our sister Wani. What I discovered is
Breaking up
this came
again.
from Asians. Oh my God. Am I breaking up again
Siberian
right now?
chips. Yeah, a little you were. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not moving.
I'm going to explain the whole thing next week cuz I'm mapping
Okay.
everybody's DNA just to show how mixed up people are because they said, "Oh, the word Moor comes from Mauritania." But okay, yeah, I'll buy that, but they're still going to be people of African descent. They were people of African descent when I was over there. I don't think that they are going to change. So if that's where the name comes from, but then they're describing them as Spanish and Arab and not wanting to mention the sub-Saharan African aspect. And they're saying, oh, the Berbers, they like those little names because what's a Berber? That's not telling us anything about their ethnicity. Again, they were taken over by everybody around them. So we don't know what they are. They come up in every color. Um, and again, they were Berbers. Berbers were in on all those in those military raids that started in the 7th century, where they took over North Africa and spread all over everywhere and tried to make everyone Islam. They were part of that. So maybe the other Moors that were of African descent were running around just doing other things like facilitating goods because they were selling human beings right along with salt and other goods. So that just goes to show you they were all working together.
Oh yeah. Am I breaking up now? Am I better?
Yes, you just broke up.
No, I actually just hit the mute button by
Oh,
accident.
okay, good.
How do I? Yeah, that wasn't it. So, yeah, I'm just gonna try to stay right here and not move. But yeah. So it was a coordinated effort to sell us. Like there was a whole group called the Jaga, and the Jaga were a fierce group of warriors. In my book, I call Jaga the original Uncle Tom. That's not what I said, but I don't want to cancel my page by saying the C word. Apparently they got Robbie Blue canceled a month ago. But so according to Chancellor Williams, when they had settled into the lower Kwango early in the 16th century, their immediate foes were the fierce Jaga warriors, a roaming tribe that seemed to be more interested in raids of destruction than settling anywhere. They were destroyers, not builders, and they were set on a course to prevent others from settling and building. This is in Africa, ladies and gentlemen. And while and others and from states, they seem to be nothing more, nothing less than bloodthirsty barbarians who engage with warfare for the sheer thrill of warfare. They eventually open war against the Bouchon. Basically, what I want to bring up is the Jaga were they were easily turned against other Africans. So when the Europeans came, they sought out the Jaga to get them to, what I'm saying, and destroy African tribes and steal us. You know what I'm saying? Is my thing breaking up again?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very important to know that we've always had these little groups inside of our inside of our circles who were used against us by the dominant society, even in Africa. Now, I bet you nobody in here has heard of the Jaga. It's JA. But
No, I
that's
have never heard of
who
them.
the you're right. But man, one thing again, me recognizing patterns, I recognize that it was years ago I was looking at this, what we're talking about. Students in the military.
Is brother professor breaking up for anybody else? It
Yes,
might
it's
be just
breaking up
me.
a lot.
It's him. It's
No,
him.
he is cooking.
It's him. He
Oh,
got to get a better signal.
We can't get, we're not getting anything with this app. This app is going crazy.
Hey, is he driving?
No,
Mm.
I'm not driving. Mm-mm.
Not
I
right.
think
Somebody,
it's that
somebody.
Atlantis slave. They don't want you to have Atlantis. They want that for themselves.
Oh Lord, now I just noticed the error. Wow. I'm gonna try to go out back.
Wa-
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Warm
Yes.
pots.
I've never had this issue before.
I was
Like, I'm
going.
sorry,
I was
y'all.
going to tell him go to the back of the house.
Wonky
Uh,
pots.
yeah.
Yes.
So
That's not the
okay,
right
good.
name, but
So
yes.
Wani, I got a bounty pick with you, woman.
What did
okay,
I
so
do?
It's okay.
y'all can hear
I'm
me
gonna
now,
talk to you
right?
the back channel. Sorry, Professor. Go ahead.
Okay.
Jeez, oh, not even talking to me. Tick.
Can you hear everybody, Professor?
We're not-
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can y'all
We
hear
can
me?
Yes.
hear you. Can you
Yeah,
hear
we can
us?
hear you, brother.
Okay. Yeah, I had to kind of go on the balcony. This is very strange. But I'm gonna get this. This is gonna, I'm not. I don't give up easy. So, what I noticed is Europeans. They always the pattern I've noticed with our enemies is they look for people that they can turn on us. And in Africa it was a Jaga, but I noticed this pattern when I was teaching about Japan. The Japanese. If y'all know, Japan's an archipelago. It's in the middle of nowhere and it's surrounded by mountains. It's a perfect military location, is strategically located for with respect for defense, right? So, how in the hell did the Europeans conquer Japan? Well, they sat around and just observed for years. The Dutch and the English sat around and had teams just watching, and they watched and watched and watched until they found a family feud amongst the Tokugawa government. So, like the internal government of Japan, they were infighting over power, and the Europeans found the family who was fighting with the Tokugawa government and said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna make you a deal. Um, if you turn on them, I'm gonna let you split some of their land up." So, I'm saying that to say, ladies and gentlemen, one lesson we could learn, or one thing I can kind of direct us to pay attention to, is trader groups. Because trader groups fuck us all, it fuck us every single time. In Africa, it was called the Jaga, the Jaga. And they didn't necessarily fight Europeans for some reason. They probably never seen a European before, but they weren't interested in fighting them. They were interested in fighting other people who look like them. Does that sound familiar, Wani?
Yes, it is a phenomenon. I think it's related to what I was saying before about cargo cult syndrome. When you see somebody that looks different and they have different technology, you just place them on a god status.
Weird.
That's deep. That's real deep.
So I fixed the title, but Dr. Williams says I wanted to find that piece of scholarship where he says they actually did force. I'll find it momentarily. So enslavement. So but let's get back to the point. And the moment I break up, you can hear me. Let me know. I don't think I am because I'm out on the balcony. I don't know what's going on inside of this new home we have. But anyway, should this is a transatlantic slave trade be loyal to Africa? Well, earlier we looked at Dr. Snyder's scholarship, and I vis-a-vis Snyder's um, scholarship, we noticed that not only were they complicit to selling us, those of us like my dad's side of the family is linked to the slave trade. My mom's isn't, but my mom is from Alabama, and like I've said in many spaces before, it's my opinion that my mother is indigenous. Like their family's been in Alabama for hell, tens of thousands of years now. My mother's side of the family was enslaved because everybody got thrown into the whole Negroism, in at least in Alabama. Like anybody with brown skin was considered Negro. I forgot what that was called. Was that wasn't a dog's roll? It was called something else. But so a European have its way, have his way. That was a Freudian slip. I said have its way. With my grandmother, and created a lineage of half breeds. We didn't have a choice in that matter, but um, back to the transatlantic slave trade, Dr. Snyder's identified that this was a very intentional thing. This being the pronoun being the selling of other Africans. In fact, maybe I'm out of line, but I can deduce from the fact that they would have a fucking fair to sell humans that they might have gathered some enjoyment from it. If y'all hold 1 minute, I'm gonna leave my cell phone on the balcony so it doesn't go off, and I'm gonna go get a book. Hold on.
He fancy. He got books.
Whoa.
Wani, I'm mad at you, Wani.
What did I do?
What you unfollow me for, Wani? What I look? I got some vegan.
Unfollowed you?
Yes.
She unfollowed
When?
me too.
Who?
Is it
I
because I'm short?
Yes, it's
What the
because
fuck?
I don't have I didn't unfollow anybody, but everybody keeps telling me I did. Who else did I unfollow?
No, if click on the profile and see, because there, like I thought you unfollowed me, MF, because then I clicked on your profile and it said followed you.
Nah,
So
nah.
sometimes,
Listen, I know what
okay,
I saw with my 4 eyes. I said, Wani Pop.
Yeah, it does that. It'll say follow,
I didn't
and
unfollow you at all.
I was gonna say Wani because see, I still all the vegan face cream. You're gonna be dry.
so back to Dr. Snyder. Dr. Snyder said free Africans as a group. Now, what they're referring to is the slave trade. Dr. Snyder says free Africans as a group by no means objected. Enslavement did not offend their moral sense. As far as the record shows, though nobody wanted to be enslaved, only a few Africans protested against the slave trade. She says only a few Africans protested against it. So what does that mean to y'all? Do y'all get widespread complicity from that statement?
Yes, and
absolutely
it
not.
also exhibits a lack of logical thinking. That, if they're doing that to us, why do you think you're fundamentally different and that the same thing cannot happen to you? That shows the illogical thinking that they just keep doing the same things over and over again and making the same mistakes, and we keep sitting around expecting them not to do deals with the European and get ripped off, but they will always do deals with the European and get ripped off, or the Asian.
And
Well, that's
and the
real sad.
people who went through it, I'm sorry, brother. I just wanted to say this: under duress, under overwhelming strength, that's not being complicit. You kind of at the mercy of. If somebody got a gun to your head and tell you to renounce your blackness, you're not complicit in renouncing your blackness. This is a means of survival. So for them to even make that picture while these people are in that state shows that there is some type of dynamic there that should be investigated.
The dynamics still exist. When I taught in Alabama, and you get data reports every year, and it showed that hit the mute. I was trying to let somebody up, and I hit the mute button, so that wasn't a breakup. But um, yeah, I accidentally hit the mute button. It didn't break up yet. But what I was saying is, data showed in the state of Alabama that black children um in that jurisdiction had a problem. Like, it identifies their problems according to category. And when Wani said that, she almost verbatim said the problems that black children had in state Alabama in 2011. It was logical reasoning and conclusion making. So I wonder what that's about.
They got slick avenues of duress that they tend to put us up under. And it's so multifaceted and layered. I'm sorry, Sister Wani. I saw you come off mute. I want to hear what you got to say. Respect.
I was just going to say, I was reading an article from someone who was studying this very closely, their mentality. And it just comes down to the fact that they don't see these other people as them. We keep thinking that everyone's us, but they don't. So that's why when they wanted to when they said King Leopold killed 10 to 30 million people in the Congo, this is what happened. They stocked the army, the Belgian army was stocked with Africans. It was all Africans. First, they got Nigerians, Sierra Leoneans, and I guess when they got tired, they started using local people from the area. But if they don't view themselves as this is my fellow Congolese person, because these terms, these Congolese terms are being put on them, and they are more like viewing themselves as tribes in the Congo. They don't view themselves as we're all in the Congo. They view themselves as tribes. That's this nation, having a nation that you identify under, that's not their idea. I mean, some of them walk across the borders and they don't have passports or anything. They don't have to because they're in a tribe. So the Batwa don't have to have a passport. The Pygmies don't. No, the Maasai don't. They just walk wherever they want. So they don't go along with that. And they don't have that mentality. So if they want to kill someone, or if someone says, I'll give you some, a cute little military outfit to wear if you just cut everyone's hands off, then that's what's going to happen, because they don't view them as their brothers or sisters. They just don't.
It's craziness.
And you
It's
said
craziness
King Leopold's
when
army
the when the
was
when the
black?
rest of the world
Yes, it
when the
was.
rest of the world I when the rest of the world identifies visually, like, what you look like based on a phenotype, like, and you, like, logically you should get on board with that and say, oh shit, because I know what you're talking about, Wani. From my experiences in West Africa, like they would identify the people from a Paso were offended when we tried to speak Ga with them. And I couldn't tell it, no offense, but I couldn't tell a difference. Like, maybe their clothes was different, but I'm not from over there. I don't know what I'm trying to say is the differences are so subtle. Like, um, why would you think that people would pick up on subtle differences? But maybe it's because you're around your own people for so long that you think people think like you think. But that's the problem. Nobody in this world thinks like them. People look at your phenotype and say, you black, you black, you black. Like when I was in school. Hey, what you got?
Hey, good evening, Professor, FBA, everybody. Can I be
Peace,
heard?
peace.
Perfect, perfect. Hey, so for the record, I go by AY, just to throw that out there.
Oh, okay.
So but
Right on.
none but love and respect. Um, so when it comes down to this, I might actually have an interesting perspective on this because I took the AfricanAncestry.com DNA test. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes,
I
I have.
have.
Yeah, I
I'm
took that
fully I'm
test.
fully against it. I'm just going to say that.
Hey, I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that at all. um, uh, because I was searching for my identity and whatnot. This is all before I even discovered FBA. And the thing I want to point out is that when I took the test, I actually, the tribe I got assigned to, or said that I was connected to, was the Balanta tribe in Guinea-Bissau, which is a small little spot near Cape Verde. And the interesting thing is when you sign up for that and take that, you were able to match up with go into groups with other people who've taken the tests. And everyone in that group was like, yeah, we're happy that we know what part of Africa or what tribe we come from. But the what made me pause and turn from that was when it came down to us to, because everyone, in the group was looking at dual citizenship, right? Because now we have a DNA marker saying that we are part of this tribe, right? And so we were looking at, okay, hey, if we got this DNA test saying that we're part of this tribe, what can we do as far as coming back to that tribe? And the way they have an elder council, and that elder council basically said, generally told us, like, we're happy to hear about all the Balanta that are in America and South America and whatnot, but they were very, very sketch on us coming over to stay because
Exactly.
they were saying
No,
that.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, oh, no, absolutely, Professor. They basically they said they didn't want our American ways to influence their society. And the person who was, and our connection to everything was, he goes by Sipaway Baleka, but he's actually related to James Blake, the brother who got shot a couple times in the back, that made the news. But he was on a Pan-African thing talking about HR 40. And one of the brothers actually had mentioned bringing up Tutnese and learning Tutnese. And he basically came down on him like, you don't learn that language. There's nothing saying that that's our language. You only supposed to learn this language. And I was like, this is, and it turned out there was a lot of
He
embezzlement.
need his ass whooped.
I absolutely agree. He was embezzling money from the group. He was telling everybody that, like, the only thing we should be dedicated to is Guinea-Bissau and getting reparations in land and whatnot. And I stopped
Guinea
dealing with
Bissau,
him.
huh? It's interesting.
Yeah, this
So and
That is
that's from your
interesting.
mother's side, correct? They do the maternal
no,
lineage?
no,
No?
that was from my paternal. My father's FBA. My mother is not FBA.
No, 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 no. When they did the line that said where you came from, did they
Yes.
do it on the mother's side?
No, they you could do it if you're a male. You can do it from the paternal
Both
or the
sides?
the X or Y chromosome. For females, they can only do X chromosome.
Now, how did you do it? Did you do it from both, or
I
do you
didn't feel
remember?
comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable doing it on both because my mother's not FBA. She's Latino and
Mm.
German, but basically white.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but she actually took the test herself, and
Hey,
it
Mike, can
came
I
up.
ask you a question?
Can you hear
uh,
Jamal talk? I mean, who's talking? AY?
Oh,
AY
yeah, I
is
want to.
talking. It's AY's turn to talk.
Yeah, AY talking.
yeah, I'm about to land soon, family. Don't worry. Um, but like, yeah,
No, you good, AY.
uh, much respect. Yeah, my white mother took the test from her X chromosome, and it paired her to the Fang tribe in Gabon, even though they pronounce it Fawn. And so that just kind of like raised a lot of questions for me because I mean, like, I don't know a lot about my the Latin side is from Puerto Rico, and I don't know a lot of information from there. But
She's related to which tribe?
The Fang tribe, Fang,
Where are they located? Did she say?
Gab, in Gabon.
Okay. So yeah, she could be, but you felt suspicious of it because she's Puerto Rican, correct?
Yeah, Puerto Rican and white. So I was like, if I'm gonna spend $300 to take this DNA test, I want to do it off of an FBA lineage instead of one that maybe didn't even match up
Yeah,
to an African
those
tribe.
are some, I mean, that's a normal tribe that you could have been from. The area that you named is very has a lot of slave trade. It's just not a very popular area, but the reason I don't like it is because it only tells you about one thing that's going on, and we have so many things going on our lineage. And why would we want to spend that much money to find out about one thing?
I absolutely agree, and I wish wish I had discovered FBA before I went through that process to really know exactly who I
Hmm.
am and my lineage here in America. So had it not,
Yeah.
so I went through all that experience, get getting a tribal name. I started learning the tribal language, and then it turned. And basically, the group just turned into, we're gonna send money over and help them build up their infrastructure,
Yeah, it's a
Right,
and
scam.
right.
all we get in return was the satisfaction of having a connection to the motherland.
That is another
Which ain't
scam.
nothing.
And that's exactly what I was telling him. I was like, look, this is not how we do it. They had one of the elders speaking to me, and he was telling me, oh, I sound like a politician. I'm saying, like, no, I'm just looking at this is, look, this is the situation that we're in. We have we technically have a claim to be a part of this tribe. And I think that, as far as, us being part of this tribe, I believe that we should be welcomed with open arms to stay there or to get that dual citizenship because of that. But it was just more about, no, we don't want all the Americans coming over here, and changing our lifestyle. And then also, like, it was a,
Okay, so
yeah, like, oh, no, no,
we'll
you
come
just give
over
us money and
and do
we'll
what?
make you feel good.
So come
Wow.
on
Yeah.
out.
Xenophobic.
They don't. What is their lifestyle? Butchering each other with hatchets. They don't want you to block any of that action.
Now I do. Now, according to, I mean, like, I wish I could really say, because like it's hard for me to trust the people who are speaking about the history, and like they even have a story about the actual slave trade actually happening in the village, and they don't claim that people were being sold. They were claimed that it was a, hey, we got stuff to give to you guys. Just come all together.
Shit.
We'll pick out. And then while they were handing out the all the trinkets and stuff like that, they picked out the strongest people and invited them on the boat. And next thing you know, they were being taken. And as soon as they realized that, that's when they started fighting back. That's what I was told. Now, whether that's honest or
Mm.
not, I can't say yay or nay.
Well, they did the same mistake for like before the transatlantic slave trade. They already had a slave trade system before the trans-Saharan slave trade. And of course they have it after and they have it today. So they do know about selling people.
Hmm. So,
They knew it was a worldwide operation. And y'all, I just while y'all were talking, I have a rare book by J.A. Rogers, and it's a book where he has laws in it pertaining to slavery. And I was looking through old English law, and I saw some shit that really told me something, because we were talking about the Moors earlier, right? And I heard several of y'all kind of conflate Moors with Islam. I've done it myself. I thought they were synonymous, right? Check this out. Her Majesty's Act 9 of October 1748 says, quote, no Negro, mulatto, Indian, although a Christian or any Jew, Moor, comma, Mohammedan, shall purchase any Christian white servants. Now, why is that significant? There's a comma in between Moor and Mohammedan, implying that through the eyes of the law, they thought they were different things. Isn't that interesting? So when did the Moors and the Mohammedans conflate? For those of you who don't know, Islam used to be called Mohammedanism,
I didn't know that.
and,
Oh,
and
Mohammedanism. I got you.
Yeah, that's how white folks
That's
do.
Mohammedanism.
They
hard to
gonna
say.
just
That's hard to
Yeah,
say.
and the Mohammedans would walk up to you and say Muhammad or die, and you either showed your submission to Muhammad or you lost your head. They would cut
Mhm.
you with a scimitar.
Yep.
So that's what I kind of got my opinions with Islam, but I'm just gonna leave it
That's
there.
why a lot of people are
Activist,
Islam.
activist, what you got?
Hey, what's up, family? I hope y'all can hear me through these all the technical stuff we're dealing with. But that's a very good point that Professor you made about the Moors, because I have a book called The Story of the Moors in Spain by Stanley Poole, Poole. That was recommended by Dr. John Henry Clark. And they make a major distinction. So basically, it's like what it is now. They're going after the Moors because they're black. There are some Christian Moors, there are some Jewish Moors, and there are some Islamic Moors. If you look at the Reconquista, you know, what happened in Spain, it's basically that. And when you look at there's those little ceremonies in Brazil and in Spain, when they kill the black bull, they're talking about us, black males. They're talking about us. And I'll end with this. And I'll come back later, maybe, but I'll end with this. Every single thing that white supremacy has done in America has been weaponized against us, including the language. Every single compound in the English language that has the word black in it has negative connotations. When you blackmail a person, that is a criminal offense. It is also a criminal offense to be a black male in America. Thank you.
And black and
Oh, oh, y'all catch that? That was good.
yep.
Except when a company is in the black. That's good.
Yeah, we could do this back and forth all day. Now, back to the bulls, I just want to say they have some kind of bull cult going on in the Mediterranean area. They have like pictures of bulls up in the museum. They have running of the bulls. They have bull fights. They like bulls. And I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they got something from India because they like bulls too. So it is a bull cult, and they just keep adding new ways to interact with bulls.
That's true. When I look at bulls in the context of what the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said, all the symbols are about us. So when I look at a bull, bulls are what, black or brown? Right? They don't back down. They're 10 toes down, and it takes at least 5 or 6 of those, six non-bulls to kill a bull. Every time I see a black man get talked to by the police, there's 4 or 5 of them. So we can see all these analogies, but that's a good point. Thanks a lot, Wani.
It is interesting, but I do realize that when they had that ceremony where all the people in Spain were in blackface and they were celebrating the Moors being defeated by the Christians, this is why this gets conflated, Professor, because they do conflate it. They're like, the Moors did this and the Moors did that and the Arabs did this and the Arabs did that and Islam took over. They have it all mixed up together. Even on AI, you have to, um, ask multiple times just to figure it out because they have all these woven together. And so there is a difference between the people that came down and pretty much pushed Islam by the sword. There's a difference between those people and the people that we saw that were of African descent that were escorting little boys on slave ships and different Moors that we've seen, Tipu Tip. Those are different. They probably do different things in this under this banner of Moor. but that name is definitely associated with people of African descent. And like, there's no argument that Moors are black. I mean, they have Sir Morian, they have a statue of him in Germany, and he is 100% black. They said the term knights is because they had so many, um, people of African descent, and they wanted to camouflage their faces to look like them in battle. So they are definitely of African descent, but they are also Berbers, which are mixed, and then they are also Arabs. So they like to play peekaboo with this identity.
I think it's confusion. I think it's to confuse, I'm saying, confuse the narrative of history to keep us off the trail. Because I've read books that said the Moors were exclusively Muslim, but it didn't make sense to me because Islam didn't exist. Islam is the newest, I think the newest of the, it's the newest of the, um, doggone it, what's that word
The
that talks about?
Abrahamic face.
There you go. Abrahamic religion. But I knew that didn't make sense because back then, if you look in the Jumbotron, there was Mohammedanism. Now, um, and the whole premise behind Mohammedanism didn't sound Moorish to me because the Moors had access to what? Science. They were scientific thinkers. They had a process of thinking. And walking up to somebody with a scimitar and saying Muhammad died doesn't sound scientific to me. That's some gangster shit.
Well, they were
Worship of
doing just what the Romans did, Romanizing people. They were Arabizing people, and they, for some reason, all of these really big campaigns do this where they're trying to make everybody the same. They don't like the differences in these cultures. So they didn't like Celtics running around. They didn't like these other groups. So they just Romanized all those people. They couldn't stand Berbers doing Berber stuff. So they tried to invade them and Romanize them and Arabize them, um, or
Wanda,
Hellenize
you're
them.
cooking up. You're cooking on something so fucking powerful right now. Did y'all hear what she just said? She said and I'm paraphrasing you, but they didn't want them to do their own thing. So then the question becomes why, and the why is very important. The other day, I watched an interview with Joe Rogan and an Air Force intelligence officer. Those guys don't talk much, but this guy resigned at major. He almost made lieutenant colonel, but he left, and he was to tell the world. But anyway, long story short, this Air Force major was talking about extraterrestrials and evidence thereof. And somebody on the panel said, well, how do you know this? And listen to this. He said that the Catholic Church, does anybody here know what Catholic means? It means general. That's literally what Catholic means, general. General's a high rank in the military. Well, anyway, this Air Force officer said the Catholic Church had branches all across the world, and every church father, or whatever they're called, had a duty to, had a log where they would report findings and report information, and all that information would be consolidated and go to where? The Vatican. And basically, what this Air Force officer said is the Catholic Church served as an he called it the oldest intelligence agency on the planet. And if you think about what Wani just said, it makes sense. Like you can really spy on people and find out what people are doing if you I don't know if amalgamate is a good word, but if you just consolidate them into your frame of thinking, you steal their power.
It's
You know what I'm
safer
saying?
for
Because there's
you.
power.
Yeah, it's safer if everybody's on the same page and they believe in the same God and they are in your military and they eat the same food as you. Everything goes smoother, and that's what they're trying to do to everybody on the planet.
And it's deeper than just believing in the same God. It's believing in the same people who they claim to represent God. See, they're not trying to make you Muslims. They're trying to make you Arabs. They want you to worship their history. There is this statement that is made to Black American Muslims. Are you black first or are you Muslim? And I would talk to him. Do you know how disrespectful that is? Nobody asked an Indonesian that. Nobody asks a person who's Arab, are you Muslim or are you black first? Because they want you to put their lineage beyond yours. But they book don't say that. So they misrepresent their own book. And because they are in the, people glamorize them as, oh, they're the caretakers of this religion. People accept what they say, but they are some of the most evil people on the planet, like I said in that interview. We say white folks said we was 3/5 of a human being. That fucking Arab said you're a thing to be used.
Well, Professor James Smalls had that on our dear brother, Professor James Smalls, may he live another 50 years, um, was a Muslim. He was a real high ranking Muslim in the Nation of Islam. And he went on his pilgrimage, forget what it's called, but going to Mecca. And that's one of the reasons why he left. He said when he was at the airport, he saw it was more like what Bad News said, it was more about being Arab than it was about worshiping the faith. And according to Professor James Smalls, Islam is a beautiful faith. That's his own words. But he said he saw that at the top levels, it wasn't about that. And furthermore, Dr. Professor James Small said he saw some women being sold at the fucking airport. Like he was like they're selling women. The Islamic high priest.
Selling
That's funny,
women?
That
Nikki.
is
Oh
crazy.
my God. Like that's
For
against what they
yeah,
claim to
it was
follow.
selling women. It was a, and I don't want to say the wrong words because I'm not really educated on Islam, not a Muslim, but it's some word for imam or something like
Yeah,
a
your
real high
mom.
ranking.
And
Mm-hmm.
Imam
Yeah.
simply means leader. Even in the Quran, it
Okay.
says there are imamatan who are leading you to hell. It just means leader. It doesn't have any
Leader.
specific like, oh, they're supposed to be appreciated. No, if you choose the wrong imam, they gonna lead you to hell. That was the connotation. So they take these words in that book and they create these mythologies behind them outside of that book. So, like, I mean,
Hmm.
brother, you are really like they selling women at the airport. There's
That's what Dr.
mm,
James.
What
That's what
was
Professor
that
James
all
Small said.
about?
He said that they were selling slaves. It was a couple, and he could speak. He speaks Arabic. He said they are up here, and they all were coming on that pilgrimage to Mecca. That's was a purpose. Like everybody there was had on their garb. They're white, and they were on their way to Mecca to pray or whatever. And Professor Small said he witnessed two imams just fucking selling women there, like some slaves at the fucking airport.
imams
Oh,
selling women.
yep,
That is
Wow.
wild.
yep.
I knew.
And he left. He left
I met
Islam.
an imam. She had sex with the building inspector to get her building passed. Thought that was a bit weird.
That's wild. Fatima Khan, let's hear what you got to say. Or Fatima Khan. Am I saying it right? Can Fatima
I
hear
can't
me?
even. Oh, hold on.
I don't think she can hear me.
Fatima. Hello.
Let me drop her down and we'll bring her back up. Okay.
Atavist.
Come on, Tree Station. What you got?
Oh, I thought Atavist was next.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
can
I
sorry. Oh, go
can't
ahead, Adams.
tell because
Oh,
this app.
we can we can let that sister Stacia talk. I've spoke before. We can let her go first.
All right, Station, then Adams. Thank you, Adams.
okay. I just wanted to say that even though I know they have a really sketchy history, the Catholic Church, they do have a very long, uh, how can I put it? They're known for documenting or having a lot of information historically. And it seems as the Catholic Church has always associated more with Black. And even for example, the Catholic school my dad went to, it was called St. Benedict the Moore Parish. This was like back in the 1950s. It was an all black school or all black parish. So it seems that everything that you see from the Catholic Church that's associated with Moore, or even I sent you an image even of St. Benedict the Moore, Professor Allen. Everything that they associate with Moore is black. Period.
Oh yeah, those of you just walking in the room, Dr. Chancellor Williams said in his masterpiece, "The Destruction of African Civilization," said, "quote Now again, who were the Moors? Question mark. The answer is very easy. The original Moors, like the original Egyptians, were black Africans. Period." And he says, an amalgamation became more and more widespread. Only Berbers, Arabs, and coloreds in the Moroccan territory were called Moors. And what I read into that is they co-opted it. Outsiders co-opted the word. That's a form of warfare, ladies and gentlemen. Warfare begins with language. And what's the essence of warfare? It's confusion. That's what warfare is all about. Sun Tzu. I don't know if y'all study Sun Tzu, but Sun Tzu has the art of war. And one of my favorite quotes by Sun Tzu is this. He says, "Let your intentions be as dark and let your intentions be as dark and impenetrable as night. And when you move, fall like a lightning bolt." That means keep your shit hidden. And when you move so quick that everybody's confused. Confusion is essential to warfare, and that's been a European tactic to control this world for as long as they have. By all these lies and all this confusion. You're a Moor. I'm a cowboy. Um, This is Jesus. Just confusion. Fatima, you're back. And then we'll go to activists. Can you hear me, Fatima or Fatima? Fatima, can you hear me? Something's wrong with her thing. Go ahead, activist.
All right. Wow. Okay, we're talking about the Catholic. Talking about the Catholic Church. Give everybody in the room a little insight on me. I am not Catholic, but I went to a Jesuit college, and I'll drop the name. It's called Lemoyne. Two words: Lemoyne. It is in Syracuse, New York. It is not only a Republican think tank, but many of the Jesuits there, when I got in good, and they realized that despite their efforts, I was gonna keep banging at them. A lot of the things that we're talking about, the Catholic Church started. Remember they gave King Ferdinand and Isabella the okay, to do what they did in Spain. They gave Portugal the okay to start,
Facts.
to start the slave trade. What they've also done is, you have to remember, they were the Jesuits is that arm of the Catholic Church that moves first. Just like the Marines, they come in with missionaries. They come in with Bibles that are detected. They also, even though the Catholic Church doesn't, they say on up front that they don't vibe with all the other denominations, they will unite with the other denominations against us. If you look at, Baptist and Catholic charities, they'll tell you, oh, we gave $1 billion to these black folks, we get like $2 and it goes to white folks. It's just constant. So when we fight white supremacy, and there's all these different manifestations, the religious arm is just like a white king on a chessboard is going to have that big white cross, and the Pope is their leader. Whether or not, they can say, oh, well, I'm Baptist, but when the Pope gives out an edict, whether it be Vatican I, Vatican II, and all this other things, they all listen to it and they all adhere to it. But that, and then also, I want to end with this. When we talk, and I heard somebody mention when I first came in the room, King Leopold's Ghost, great book about Congo. We can't dismiss the white supremacy corporations, namely Firestone, that helped bankroll, Leopold to chop off Africans' hands and make money there.
Whoa,
So
whoa, whoa, whoa,
those
whoa,
two things are
whoa.
important.
Let's look up the what Force
Well,
Republic
what I'm saying,
looks like. Force Republic. No, let me look them up. Force Public. Want me to post them?
okay,
Force
yeah, I was
Public.
just Okay, I was just going by, the book King Leopold's Ghost, and there's a lot of links to the Firestone Corporation. That's
Yeah,
the
I know
American link. So
they took advantage of them. That's not we're not disputing that. My problem is that why are they eager to be taken advantage of and have no problem chopping each other's hands off? That's my question.
yes, I was
Facts.
That's
yes, I
the
was getting to that.
question.
Thank you, Wayne.
Um, we already know that people want to exploit people. That's not debatable. I'm trying to find out why they keep going along with it, because that is a problem. That they're going to have to look at. They can't just keep pretending like the white boy made me do it. That's not
Well,
going to work. We have the internet. We can see who's doing what.
you're right, and sadly, it seems like Africans for the last centuries, or, X amount of 100 years, they're doing all the devilment against their own people for trinkets, for
Yeah,
nothing, for
that's
nothing.
and that's brother. That's the purpose of this page. And about Jesuit schools, I didn't finish professional school, but I started my professional journey at Georgetown University in DC, and it's Jesuit, and I could tell you a whole bunch of stories. But what I want to hit you with, since y'all talking about the Congo and we're talking about filth and degeneracy. Check this out. I want to hit y'all with some rare scholarship from Dr. Chancellor Williams about how the Catholic faith was used to infiltrate Congo. Listen to what Dr. Williams said. Dr. Williams on page 253 said, quote, the Portuguese Christianization of the Congo created something more than chaos. It was a revolting mess no matter what angle it was viewed. To begin with, the priests were not only, it trips me out every time I read it. I'm sorry, y'all. It was a revolting mess no matter from what angle it's viewed. To begin with, the priests were not only among the leading slave traders, but they also owned slave ships to carry the black cargoes to the distant lands. Priests also had their harem of black girls, some having as much as 20 each. Did y'all hear what the fuck I just said?
Yeah,
Quote,
that's who
they
was
were
making the
called,
decisions about who should be sold and who no. I mean, those missionaries and those religious people were the ones dictating who got sold and who was more human. And oh, the natives look so beat down. Let's just start abusing these other people. There, I mean, we can read their letters. It's atrocious.
Dr. Williams says, quote, they were called house servants by these holy fathers. The great majority of the whites were scum of the land from which they came. Even the half-educated priests were generally of the lowest character, moral and otherwise. The slave situation became more and more desperate out of hand as every white man down to the lowly worker became a trader. The builders sent over to erect fortifications and other permanent installation of Portuguese. Stone and brick masons, carpenters, engineers, painters, metal craftsmen were all slave traders. Sailors and unskilled Portuguese laborers had their own quotas of slaves, especially slave girls. For let this truth emerge from many of the facts which were buried, and let it stand out clearly. One of the main attractions that drew thousands of white men was their unlimited sexual freedom with all black girls and women who were enslaved and helpless in the power of their masters. These wholesale raids on black womanhood continue to swell the mulatto population, the majority of which, as case in Egypt and the Sudan, became faithful servants and loyal representatives for conquering races from which their fathers belonged. That's what this shit was all about. These motherfuckers wanted to rape people.
Exactly. And Professor Allen, we just met, but brother, we are right on point. And if you guys could let me quote from the same book, page 253, the Mission Fathers, the war dogs of the Lord, the Jesuits were most helpful as spearheads into the interior chiefdoms to form slave hunting alliances in exchange for discarded guns. Boom.
Yep, it was all about raping people, and that truth needs to get out because they confuse people with "Let me help you serve God." If our people knew these motherfuckers just wanted to rape somebody, they wouldn't be filled. We wouldn't fill up these fucking churches.
And another thing, it didn't end because there's contentions and there's other books like colonialism and homosexuality that claimed that the 13 colonies were nothing more than homosexual avenues for these guys to go over here and be whatever with men, women, dogs, sheep, whatever. So welcome to America, where the white men rule and the sheep are scared.
I put the
Hmm.
picture up in the jumbotron of this um, military force publique. I was told by a local
Hmm.
person that it was first stocked with Nigerians and Sierra Leoneans, and then later they just used Congolese men, and they did all the dirty work that we hear about. King Leopold never stepped foot on that land, according to. But of course, if they want to kick him under the curb, kick him to the curb, I don't care. Of course, he was monarchy, and of course, they were evil. But how long can these people carry out these evil deeds? Even hitmen have to go to jail.
Right. Right. And it says a lot that they would turn on each other like that. Well, the point of that is back to the title of the room. Should the victims of the transatlantic slave trade be loyal to Africa? I think based off of our evidence we presented so far, the answer is a solid no. I mean, how can you trust? Where's the level of trust? Wani just showed that they got soldiers, and I don't know if y'all know how brutal the whole Leopold issue was. That Dr. John Henry Clark calls it the original Holocaust. They cut fucking hands off of children to prove that they kill people. They would cut the hands, arms, and hands. And to this day, you can go to Germany and find ashtrays of a child's hand. They made ashtrays out of hands. What is
Real
wrong with these
hands?
people? Real
Oh
hands.
Lord.
They're ashtrays.
Germany, yeah, they have a problem with using body parts for. Remember, they had those during the Holocaust. That was one of the first things that the military was showing those Germans and Polish women. They drug them over to that gas chamber and they said, I mean, over to those camps, and they said, look at this. Look at these things. And they were like, oh my God, I don't know what happened. Really? They've been pumping human remains into your air near your house for years, and you don't know what that smell is? These people play
Wow.
dumb. How can they be pumping black smoke into the air and stinking up the whole area, and you don't know that people are being killed? They knew from the very beginning because they always had spies in those gas chambers.
Right.
I mean, in those concentration camps.
No, I know what you meant. Yeah, knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, Hitler said that white supremacy is not only a world sport, but Hitler said that, hey, they got a lot of ideas from the final solution by watching what the white supremacists did over here to us. And then we got what's her name, the lady who started Planned Parenthood. Oh my God, I got the book
Margaret
here. But anyway,
Sanger. Margaret
right, Margaret
Sanger.
Sanger
Sanger.
and all her, Planet Parenthood is just a ploy. It was a way to exterminate us, and at the very least to sterilize all black women. So that all of that ties in.
It's all been an attack on us. We've been under siege for thousands of fucking years. Me and Wani discovered the other day that this attack began with Asians in what we call Egypt. That was started with Asians who sent men over to act real innocent and do work. And it's just like, it's almost like that whole age old parable of like the vampire. Like you have to let the vampire in before he can fuck you up. We had to let the Asians in to do work. And our dumbasses felt sorry for them and gave them women because we didn't want men to be alone without a woman. And what they do, made a whole league of mixed babies who said, I'm not black. And before you know it, we had in 200 years, we had a civil war. Um, Different groups have been under siege. They've been trying to get us for a long time. I see Choke in the I think that's Choke. Choke, I hadn't seen you in forever. Come
Right.
on, man. What you got?
Well, I broke his spirit.
Talk to me,
He's
Choke. What you got?
recovering from the
Oh,
brutalities that I placed upon him.
oh gosh. Wanda, give it a rest. Give it a rest. What's going on, Professor?
What's up, bro?
Nothing, man. Just weathering the storm, literally. Just dealing with the aftermath of Helene. Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're trying to put it together out here.
Where you at, pimp?
Right here on this South Carolina Georgia border, and really on the west side of South Carolina, I'm right next to Augusta, Georgia. Yep. Yeah, we got
Okay.
tore up pretty bad.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm in Atlanta. It fucked up some areas in Atlanta, but it didn't mess with our house.
No, my house is intact.
Flooded the
My house
backyard.
is intact. I haven't had power in about 6 days though, and yeah, that's
Bang.
rough, bro. But Augusta itself is it's trying to come back to life, but there's gonna be months and months of um, rehab work there. Like there are trees, like
What are they doing? Is the government saying anything?
I'm not gonna lie, McMaster in South Carolina he is under fire. Like they're tearing his ass up because he's not he's not handling it correctly. Like even his staff, some members of his staff have written letters um, telling him how bad of a job he's doing. Like it's crazy. Like as far as like getting emergency help to people and you know the time he took to declare a state of emergency. FEMA's not doing right by the people, so it's a lot going on.
Why
But
are they doing this and then dumping all the money on foreigners, foreign wars and everything? I don't understand it. The cost to help is nothing compared to what these other places are getting.
absolutely, I totally agree. And you know what's crazy? I think now it takes something like this to happen for people to realize one, just how much your elections or your politics matter at each level, and then two, you know, uh, you got to remember, these are the times that you can't forget. You see what I'm saying? What administration was in place? What they did to help, what they didn't do to help. All these things are going to count. And right now, I'm not gonna say there's not a black and white, but people are kind of like on an even playing field, so to speak. Because everybody's distraught.
Yeah, Americans' houses were jacked up, so they're going to have to get over it
Yeah,
in this instance. They really are.
yeah, absolutely. So, it's quite an issue. It really is. But I just want to comment on the ashtray things, like the hand with the ashtray.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's definitely a real thing. And what's crazy is, y'all ever seen the movie Gorillas in the Mist?
Oh yeah. They did it with gorillas too.
Exactly, exactly. You know what I mean? So to take somebody's human hands and do the same thing you're doing with an animal out the jungle, that that's
A
crazy.
human child's
That's
hand, man,
crazy.
and put
Most of
and
them
put a
were
fucking
children,
cigar.
yep.
These nasty motherfuckers. Y'all remember Patrice Lumumba?
Yes.
Patrice. They wouldn't. His family recently got his tooth back. Like they didn't want to give up his teeth. Like they snatched a gold tooth out. If you see Patrice smiling, he got a gold tooth in his mouth. The I mean those Germans snatched the tooth out, and one of them said, "That's mine." And they didn't. The family sued to get his remains back because they never buried him, and they wanted to bury his tooth, and they didn't want to give it back. What type of thought process is that? You can't have it. It's my tooth. These people are fucking deranged, man.
Remember they held Geronimo's bones and wouldn't give those back? Weirdos.
Yeah, at Yale University. What I want y'all to do when you get some time, and I got people, some of my students walking around, I want to go to Yale. I want to go to Yale. Black students talking that shit. I'm like, can you please look up the founder of Yale? Look up Elihu Yale. He was a straight fucking criminal. And they have a poem about how he was a criminal and a thief and a blah blah blah. Like it's cute. Beauty. It's good to see you.
Hey,
What
real
you
quick,
got?
Professor, since you
Talk to
said
us.
something about Yale, hey, y'all go check that movie, Rob Peace. Y'all seen that yet? It's
What's it
called
called?
Rob Peace.
No, never
Okay,
heard
it's
of it.
based on a true story. He's of the lineage. I ain't gonna spoil the movie for you, but just check it out. Rob Peace.
No doubt, man. I'm gonna check it out. Beauty, talk to us.
Shoot, shout out to the room. Hello, how you doing, Professor? Hey, Wani.
Hey,
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 hey. I just want to kind of stick to the topic. It says, should the victims of trans Atlantic slave
you
trade be
sound
let?
muffled.
Hold on, because I'm in my room and I don't got no
Now you
daggone.
sound okay.
It sound okay now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, 'cause I'm in the back of
Yeah,
the
I do.
room. I'm in the back of the room. Okay, I want to stick to the topic. It says, should the victims of the transatlantic slave trade loyal to Africa? No. And if they was, I don't understand why would they be? Why would they be after so long?
Well, that's what these Pan Africanists tell us. They say it's home. But my point is, from my point of view, um, and where I'm from, Alabama, a lot of us are victims of rape. That's why a lot of us be light skinned, curly hair, green eyes, and shit, which niggas think is cute. We the only group of people think getting raped is cute. But anyway, ooh, she cute, she red. This madness, man. But anyway, like my point of view is, where the fuck were you when my grandmama was getting raped in Oneonta, Alabama? Where were the troops? Why didn't you send some fucking reinforcements? They could have died. They could have got killed or captured. If I had one story of a battalion of Africans coming over with spears to fight the white supremacists, even if they got killed, if I had one story, my views would be different. You can't find a story because they don't exist. Want to know why? Because they fucking sold us. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I said earlier, this is coming from Dr. Snyder. Well, they're both married. Snyder's book, Slavery in America. They said, Dr. Snyder said, quote, slaves are bought, slaves are bought by the black traders at fairs, were held for that purpose. Stop right there. They had fucking fairs like Six Flags in West Africa to sell fucking black children. You know what I'm saying? Funnel cakes, beer, stolen children, just
And make no
madness.
mistake, these were children. I saw an entire ship of people being sold into slavery, and we are talking about 7, 8, 9 year old boys, little children. And they're
I
doing it
know they were.
today, and they're throwing them in cobalt mines, the Stone Age group.
Jeez. Yeah, yeah. I know they were children. We went to West Africa. We went to the tree people in the village, and they were crying and singing songs, saying, "Thank God that we got you back." Apparently, they would go up in the fucking huts and snatch, kill the mom and daddy, rape the mama. All this rape comes from Europe. And we can talk about that on another space, but and then steal the children and sell them at a goddamn fair.
Wait a minute. I wanted to ask y'all one more question. Wani, how do you feel about this? I went to one of my co-workers. Her mommy had passed away, but they was raised up as Catholics. And I never been to a Catholic church, but it's all a Black American Catholic church in Newark, New Jersey. And then I guess they higher ministry, he passed away, and then they got this Nigerian man to come in, and now he is ruler of every daggone thing. I guess he had to go through the process of everything. And when he was putting her mommy in, well, she was already in the casket, and he was saying, the farewell wishes, they was breaking bread and everything on top of the lady body, and it was just kind of weird to me. Like, I ain't never experienced this before. Like, what in the world? And I'm not doubting or degrading nobody religion. I really stay out of religion, but just the mindset of the people when I was in the church, in the Catholic church, I was looking like, did y'all really just go to get the most blackest motherfucker that you can get to come preach up over y'all? Or do y'all just rather keep it within your own little sanctuary and just keep, praying the way that y'all used to? It was like they had to go get the most blackest motherfucker. They don't got nothing to do with y'all. And this nigga, I said nigga, excuse my language. And this man is getting money off of y'all. It was kind of weird to me, but I was very respectful and going out. How do you feel about that? Why in the hell in the world that we need some daggone African to come help us to do anything that we always been doing on our own by ourselves for
In the
centuries?
church, you mean?
Yeah, just period. Like, why
They
is
don't
the
have anything to do with our churches or the way that we go to church. So I don't know, but they're very big in the church, and that's why the church is defending their bad behavior, and letting them write articles negative about us and going against FBA, because that's the future for these churches. As Black Americans wake up to the con game in these churches and the
Right.
corruption, they have to replace them with people that are behind. And Africans are certainly praying to white Jesus, so they're far behind. And you got the Caribbeans with the white Jesus up and the crying over the queen, so they're far behind too. They can really manipulate them further.
And there's not a bias against our color, there's a bias against our lineage. See, this is beyond how melanated you are. They will bring an African, Caribbean to try to put them in charge of us. But I'm sorry, y'all. I'm frying chicken right now.
No,
Don't judge me.
Oh, you
no,
But
because
sound
I've been to a
off.
Caribbean church before too.
And making people hungry. Now I have to go fry
I'm
chickens.
sorry.
I'm gonna kick their butt.
But
Wanda, you don't know how
it's
to
a
fry no chicken.
bias
Cut this.
against our
Well,
lineage.
I have to fry a
And
veggie burger in the middle of the night.
I'm sorry.
Right, right. I knew you didn't fry no chicken. Just cut it out.
I don't. I
but
never said I did.
but
I said
it's a
fried things.
that's right.
Things could be
The
anything. I could be
mushroom.
frying I could be frying a mushroom, or I could be frying somebody's cat.
That's right.
Man,
And we can do it. They have a bias against our lineage. See, the fact that we descend from who we descend from is the case in point that tries to bring in replacement. That great replacement theory has nothing to do with white folks, but it's always had everything to do with us. I'll land right there. Hopefully that made some sense, y'all.
And we need to always remember that we were never supposed to survive. We were intended as a wealth engine, to quote Robbie Blue. We were intended to come over here and to be stolen from over here, but we were intended to build the economy, and they would work us until death. Like, a lot of people don't realize the standards for a slave in the field got more intense as he got older. So if he was supposed to work um 2 hours in the field when he was 20, when he was 40, he's supposed to wait 4 hours in the field. Their intention was to kill him off, but we kept coming. According to Dr. Snyder, trade not only commercialized the economy and changed everyday life of Africans, but it also corrupted them. Allegedly, African kings sold wives from whom they were angry. African parents sold children for whom they could not feed, and desperate Africans sold themselves. How the fuck do you sell yourself? Really? Barbeau told of a son who defeated his royal father's efforts to sell him by selling his father first, only to be met on his return home by a fellow tribesman who took his profits and sold him. To meet the demands of the market for more slaves, traders stirred up wars among tribes. Tribal kings began to look for excuses to attack. Kidnapping turned into a business. Now, what I will say is Europeans did that with each other before they did it with us. But we should never forget that they did it with us. We're going to go True Stacia, then Andy, then Choke. Go ahead, True Stacia.
Um, yeah, what you're saying is very true. Even now, like in Kenya, it's like there'll be children like walking along the beach trying to sell themselves to white men. Um, of course, sexually sell themselves to white men. So yeah, and their parents are well aware of this, and sometimes even their parents even send them. It's so yeah, it's really sad. But also, as far as what you were saying, even about Yale. It made me think about Cecil Rhodes and the genocide in South
Right.
Africa and the Rhodes Scholarship and how it's considered,
Rhodes
yeah,
Scholar,
how it's
yes.
considered an honor to be a Rhodes Scholar, even though he was, a horrible person who perpetuated genocide in South Africa. And basically, it's like these people can almost get a rebranding. Because those same people that they committed those atrocities against, they want to go to Yale or they want to be a Rhodes Scholar. So it makes you wonder, like, as far as the people and from our lineage who do have things sketchy in their past along things that they've done, like say even a Bill Cosby, are we supposed to completely shun them and disregard them forever? um or are we and no longer hold them as someone in any regard at all, even thinking about the good things that they've done, because it doesn't seem to be something that they do within the dominant society. And I'll land there.
Well, to answer your question, no, we shouldn't shun them. And my nose got stopped up, so y'all forgive me. But today in one of my con law sections, I teach con law in ancient world history. But in con law, we talked about the Mann Act, which was created to get Jack Johnson. And in the Mann Act. I tried to get my students to identify what's illegal in the Mann Act. I'm paraphrasing it, but it says some shit like if you is created for people who cross state lines with, and it says white women in there to do immoral purposes. Now, immorality is not it. Last time I checked, to my pro se understanding, immorality is not illegal. Flicking a lady off at the stop sign and saying "fuck you" is immoral, but it's not going to send you to jail. You know what I'm saying? So I tried to help my students to um see that how that's being used against our brother Diddy. Now, I'm not condoning anybody's behavior, but this is very dangerous stuff. You know what I'm saying? And all my students could say is that this what I'm trying to say is the media machine is so powerful. All my students could say when I try to get them to see it was there any illegality in Diddy's charge. And with my student, and I have very bright students, but they were like, "Well, he had all that baby oil. He had all that baby oil. Why did he have all that baby oil?" Like, that's how powerful this media machine is. Like, what the fuck does baby oil have to do with anything?
Right.
And and even if he was using it for, but that, like, if it's between consenting adults, like, this shit's crazy,
Yeah.
man. But
It
we
it
go ahead.
seems like a few years ago everybody was like, "Oh, I got flued out," or "He flued me out." Now it's trafficking, for someone to fly you somewhere and whatever. So it just seems like there's a very loose definition of trafficking now.
Well, I have a theory
Right,
on
and
that,
that's
sister.
scary.
I, this is my theory. I want y'all to hear me well because I think I'm right on this one. All this attack on sexuality that's been going on for the last several years, I think, is in direct um or as Dr. Amos Wilson would say, it's in diametric opposition to a certain group's birth rates. What they're really saying with law and with rhetoric is we don't want you to have sex. Stop having sex. Stop having sex. Or to quote Neely Fuller, stop having procreative sex. And Tariq Nasheed, stop making children. Stop making children. Stop making children. They not outright saying it, but they saying it with law and they saying it with rhetoric on this TV by suggesting all these other um kind of need I say alternatives. Um Andy,
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me well? Because I have my headset in. I'm on
y'all
mute.
gonna make me break out Francis Cress in a minute.
Yes, I hope you do eventually. Um, I'm gonna just,
Hopefully Andy's not speaking.
yes, I
She
am.
is speaking. Oh my goodness.
Damn.
Okay. You can't hear me, can you?
Andy, drop down and come right back.
Okay.
It was doing
That's
so
just
well.
atrocious.
I'm being targeted. This is a brand new phone, and I
But
got bars. It's not my
the other
reception,
his phone did that too. They're
right?
just
I'm being
being very,
targeted.
very picky about who they're letting to not break up.
Okay.
You know,
I should be
Can you hear
honored.
me now?
in this discussion, I'm
Yeah, I hear you,
sorry.
baby.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
sister.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, I'm just going to address the sex thing really, really quick. I'm going to talk about the slippery slope and how they make Black males the face of criminality. So, whereas we may or may not should shun P. Diddy, what he's being made is a scapegoat. I don't agree with his behavior at all if he did molest children and, different things like that. But he's being scapegoated for debauched behavior, and that is for the slippery slope to slide all the way into inhibiting natural sexual behavior. So, whereas it's subjective, you can say, well, I drove to California to meet my boyfriend to have sex. The state can say you trafficked yourself to your boyfriend who participated in sex trafficking with
Right.
you. So, as we know, we're always penalized, or our actions are always deemed criminal, or outside of the realm of law, only for persecution or prosecution through the law. So, yes, they are going to use the law to further attack us. And now they're attacking us in the area of sexuality. But I do agree with that. But the thing I want to answer, should the victims of transatlantic slave trade be loyal to Africa? I really want to discuss this because my contention with Africa, the continent of Africa, African peoples, is what they did was teach the world to despise the black body. And so for
Right. Right.
for their actions in that alone, I feel they should be held accountable. They should be held in contempt. And it is an unforgivable sin. And the reason why I say it's unforgivable is because their transgression has caused untold human suffering. I didn't say I hated Africans, but I need to look at them from a standpoint of righteousness. There has been no act of repentance from that continent. And when I say repentance, there's not acknowledgement of the damage that they have historically caused upon melanated people all over the world and for millennia, millennia upon millennia. They have caused this. They are the direct propagators and causation, and they are complicit. So should we be loyal? How can you be loyal to the devil? Because the devil's not loyal to you. It's not in his being to be loyal to anyone. So for us to show loyalty to Africans is just it's not only asinine, it's humanly impossible. And I'll land on that.
You know, that reminds me of something that Dr. Snyder said in, well, I said Dr. Snyder's plural, said in their book when they were talking about the slave captains of the ship. Like, it was such fucking complicity in that operation that there's no way the ship could operate without complicity. For instance, let's look at directly what Dr. Snyder's said. Dr. Snyder said, quote, the slaver captain had to depend on Africans at every turn. When the when he arrived with his trading goods, he did not dare leave them unguarded on the beach. He had to hire an African captain of the sand. Has anybody in here heard of a captain of the sand? An African captain of the sand to watch over them until he could hire other Africans to transport them inside the fort. When he bought slaves, he had to employ a captain of the slaves to get them to the beach. Then he had to house them somewhere until he could complete his cargo. He learned that if he loaded immediately with the slaves he first bought, he ran the risk of having them jump overboard. If he kept them in chains too long, too many of them inconveniently sickened and died. So he arranged to send his early purchases to the barracoons, the holding pens, in the forts, and to be guarded and fed by who? Africans, under a captain of the trunk. So if he did not find enough slaves for sale on the coast, he might have to entrust trading goods to Africans who would make excursions inland to buy slaves for him. When he finally completed his purchase of slaves and the supplies to maintain them and his crew on the way home, he had to hire canoes manned by Africans to transport them to his ship. He had to negotiate prices and rely on local judgment as to when the tides and the weather permitted loading. Even if these canoe men were upset with their rafts and lost his goods, the captains dared not reproach them for fear of reprisals. He exclusively relied on Africans trail every which way. If Africans weren't complicit, that slave trade would not happen, ladies and gentlemen, and that is a fact. Come on with it, Choke.
Oh man, y'all talking about a couple different things, but since you on that, man, I've had this conversation so many times in the back channel, um, how complicit the Africans were and still are. Because here's the thing, an apology isn't good enough, right? So the thing is this right here: the resources that they're allowing other people to pull out of the ground every single day. And this is like the whole Pan African thing. If the bottom line is care, right? and me and my uncle, we talk about, about black issues in America, and if people genuinely care about the community. So if Africans really wanted to atone, because we've gotten some apologies, I think, from Ghana and what's the other one? It's a few little African countries that have gave formal apologies, right?
Uh-huh.
But but what's coming behind those apologies? Because you guys have the resources to make amends for everything that happened. You know what I mean? Can you make up for everything that happened? No. But there's something that you can do uh to remedy, some of the things for future generations of black Americans. And they haven't done that. And they're not gonna do it. They're not willing to do it because they don't care. They look at us as a resource. You see what I'm saying? They look at us
Yep.
as something of a bargaining chip. Even like with General Traore, what he's doing right now. I mean, he even put out I guess not a memo, but an offer for Black Americans to come over to uh, his country. You see what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so I'm like, I just can't buy into it. I don't see where the safety is for Black Americans. There definitely ain't gonna be no loyalty, and there's some things going on business wise. Uh, with some rich Black American men and rich African men, they're doing some business together, like building stadiums and all kind of shit across Africa. But as far as like in mass, like our people in mass being loyal, and reaching out to Africa or having like a strong relationship, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, and to further drive Choke's point home, man, like it wouldn't cost Ghana. It would cost Ghana pennies to offer us dual citizenship, and that little gesture would mean a lot. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Black Americans, we're gonna offer you dual citizenship free of charge, or make it a little charge, make it $100, but we're gonna offer it to you. My experience in Ghana blew my mind, man. As beautiful as Ghana was, like I couldn't believe like how much I was being charged for everything. I got charged to go to the slave castle that my father's family was sold from.
That's
And they
crazy.
tried to charge me again. I had a fucking camera. I put a picture in the Jumbotron shortly. As a professor, I do research with my camera for evidence. And I paid once to get in. And they were like, man, they trying to charge you again as press. I mean, they were just giddy to like, ooh, money, 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 money. It's not, ain't no love, man. Um, I think we got True Station and Beauty.
Yeah, I agree. It's a whole finesse. I visited the castles in Ghana and in Senegal, and of course, you have to pay to get in. As you're going through the tour, they're wanting you to give offerings of money. We did like a whole naming ceremony and everything, and that cost money. They wanted to connect with us outside of, leaving like, hey, let's stay connected. But, they just wanted to stay connected so that we could send them money. So it's kind of like, and in the midst of all that, it's crazy. When you look at the location of the castles, I'm like, there's no way something like that could be built in the United States. Around us, and we allow it. I'm like, how do you allow this giant slave fort, where your own people are being sold and abused and assaulted?
They built
Right.
And
it. They built it.
yes,
They had a particular tribe. I can't think of the name, and I don't think they exist anymore. But they gave them permission to build on that land. That was their land, and they built it. That's African workmanship.
yes, and Professor, you said that you've been there. There's a giant church right in the middle, at Elmina.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted I'll land my plane there. But well, to answer the question as far as being loyal, um, do we owe any loyalty to Africa? I would have to say no. I mean, you just have to look at them like those relatives you have here that you can't deal with, really, or deal with at a
No cap.
distance, is how I see it.
So if you look in the Jumbotron, that's what Stacia was talking about. It's a fucking neighborhood for miles. It's like neighborhood. They could have ran up and like broke us out, y'all. And as far as that church, I'm gonna say something that's gonna piss everybody off in this motherfucker. Is a church right above. In my book, I identified that the whole concept of good hair came from that castle, from Elmina, which means the mine. The Portuguese would pick every morning would pick the enslaved little girl they wanted to rape, the rape of the day. Rape is a common theme with these Europeans. There's a reason for that, but we'll get to that in a moment. But and they would rape the girl to with intent of getting her pregnant with a mixed child and sell the mixed child at a higher premium. That mixed child was then used to sow division in America and the Bahamas. You know, the whole, ooh, you pretty, you got good hair. That's weapon. That is a weapon. But if you look at that picture, directly behind me, off in the distance, is Cape Coast Slave Castle, and I'm at Elmina. So Americans, if your parents are linked to the slave trade, you probably came from that castle in the background of me. The Elmina sent most of the enslaved Africans to the Caribbean. So Andy, your family probably came from the castle I'm standing at. But back to the church, and I'll move on to the next speaker. The church she was referring to, they had a fucking church that went while they were raping little girls downstairs, they would have church service. Like, what type of people are these? The thing, you know what? They doing what they do. What throws me off is like why we follow them. Why are we following them into these religions and stuff? Like we got to be damaged or some shit, man. Anyway, beauty, what you got?
No, I was just sitting up here wondering why they not asking for the Hispanics to come back to Africa. Like, yo, it's so many people that they can ask to come back to Africa, but I guess that we built up like a good standing point for ourselves, so they sitting up here leeching off us. And I get tired of people leeching off of us. No, after like centuries, like nigga, I'm not calling you a nigga, so I apologize. And I'm like,
No, you say what you want on my show.
okay,
You
but I
good?
still try to be respectful. Like yeah, like I don't owe you shit. Like yo, go ask the fucking Hispanics, go ask the Brazilians and all them. But every fucking country that I'm starting to notice is poor as shit, third world fucking countries. So they coming in for us. Like yo, I even talked to people from Trinidad. I talked to all Caribbeans, and the Caribbeans they don't claim to be no motherfucking African. They should be like number one to be African. And it kind of fucked me up just a little bit when Akon black ass was sitting up here talking about something. Oh, America be so great, y'all won't have to come back. What the fuck did Akon say? Y'all won't have to go through the shooting and all this shit that y'all do in America if y'all come back to what is it called? Senegal? Like Akon,
Mm-hmm.
you brought your black ass up over here. Well, your family brought their asses up over here. And every time I turned around when I was younger, always seeing like little Mexican kid, little ass little midget little ladies having like about 3 or 4 kids in one damn stroller just to get American citizenship. What the fuck we look like going back to some motherfucking Africa? Everybody want to be
No cap.
us. So when the hell we just
And
gotta
they
go back?
talking about avoiding street crime when they're chopping people's heads off in mass and lining them up, throwing them in big pits. Show me in America where there's a big pit of bodies where somebody has chopped them up and thrown them in. Because I can show you tons of pits all over, and we can talk about Ukraine and Russia. They have big pits of bodies over there, little girls, all kind of stuff. They'll be investigating that for the rest of your life.
Are you serious?
Yes, they're going to kill everybody. Everybody is getting killed in these wars. Tens of thousands, possibly million people are going to die in these wars, and they are doing war crimes up the wazoo. They got pits of bodies. Some little girl got shot in the head just to terrorize the
Jeez.
family. A 9-year-old girl in the car at a checkpoint, and they just put a gun to her head just to put terror in everybody. They got
Jeez.
men taped onto light posts, torturing them, pulling their penises off, and doing all kind of stuff. That's not with the Geneva Convention, and that's between Ukraine and Russia, and they are literally cousins, knockoffs. It's
Right.
ridiculous. But we'll be talking
Fucking
about
killing, bombing hospitals and
right, and
shit.
and they might bomb the nuclear facilities just to be smart. We'll be talking about these atrocities for the rest of our lives when they start going in and investigating it when it's over.
I just don't want us to fall back into the thought process of the African bullshit and the fucking Indian bullshit, because I always felt as though the Indians always thought they was better than us. That's why they became overseers, and then the Africans became overseers. Like, we don't need none of y'all. And I don't know who the fuck even put y'all to be our fucking overseers. We don't need y'all. And then stay the fuck out of our business. And I definitely can say that 10 times. I don't need y'all.
Wa- Wani made a really good analogy weeks ago when she said Native American. She said China don't come looking for Native Americans saying, "Hey, you Chinese." They don't do
They
that.
don't say
It's like
you're
you're not
Asian, and they're definitely
right,
they're definitely Asian. That's where they come.
right.
Professor,
Siberia.
can I posit something? And I had a friend
Come on.
who brought this up to me, and my mom keeps telling me this as well. Have you ever thought that whatever we are, the people that we are, I'm gonna call us the mound people for those of you who don't know, I refer to us as the mound people, okay? Are the people who always were. Have you ever posited that
Oh yeah.
whatever we are, we were that also in Africa? And that is why they committed a mass genocide against us. So, what I am positing is that whatever we were, they've rounded us up throughout history and have tried to kill us. They've sold us into slavery. Um, they tried to rape us out, breed us out. They tried to poison us. They tried to use economics to starve us out. And they just cannot kill us, much to their, shame and embarrassment. They just cannot kill us because I posit that if we were African, why isn't it? There are no people in Africa similar to us, and by that I mean the inventions, the creativity, the novelty, the intellect, the even our mean, and by mean, I mean MEN. That's our basic character. We're not like them. And I really don't, I can't just pin that down to genetics or time and space. Even when we go back or we, mix with them, when I say mix with them, I'm talking about socially. I had I've always had African friends. I've dated a lot of Africans, and they'll say, Andrea, your grandmother sounds a lot like my people. But I do notice that there is a distinct difference because the longer I date them and stuff, they'll tell me you remind me of white people. I'm gonna let that go because that was a big insult. And so we're very very different. And my mom keeps telling me, she says, well, Steve also told me, he said, where we were throughout the world, we shared our technology. He didn't say knowledge, he said technology. And he said it backfired on us. So
Uh huh.
we have like a missionary mindset. And when I say missionary, I'm not necessarily talking about from the church. I'm talking about from the creator. We have a mindset to share a lot of technology, and it's backfired on us. I noticed the one thing that makes people incredibly angry is when we say no, when we link up, when I say to people like, no, I won't listen to you. I'd rather listen to Professor Allen. No, I'm interested in learning about Austronesians from Wani. Do you notice the anger? It's murderous. They fly into a murderous
Oh yeah.
rage when we start excluding them just from our company. We don't even have to exclude them from our neighborhoods, our institutions. Just me telling you, I don't believe you. I don't want to listen to you, or I don't want to be around you. They fly into a murderous rage. There's something unnatural about that. And that's what leads me to believe that we are such a different species of being. Um, I just can't see us being that different in Africa. I believe we stood out in Africa. I believe we were some kind of way we were separated or
Uh
delineated in
oh.
Africa, and that's why we were sold. That's why they, because they'll say, "Oh, this tribe had a war against this tribe." Yeah, but why not all the tribal people sold? Why just a select few? And that's my point. There's something about us that delineates us from the rest of humanity. Now, that's just um, a hypothesis, but it's something that I've been thinking about.
Well, let me back you up because you cooking on some shit I got evidence on that nobody wants to talk about. Dr. Chancellor Williams in Destruction of Black Civilization says there was a group of people who were displaced, and he said they made stuff. They were ingenious. He kind of alludes that they were the descendants of the Egyptians. They're called the Bushong. Dr. Williams says, quote, the core group was made up of blacks who came to be known as the Bushong. They were moving from place to place towards the interior and finally began the development of a new state during the period when the white storm clouds were slowly rising in all directions. The 200 years between 1475, stop right there. So 1475 was thinking time period. That was before. In 1402, y'all can fact check me on this. Pope Innocence declared that black people with black skin, could be doomed to slavery. So in the 1400s, it hadn't really caught on yet, but they were gathering. Quote, the most critical in the history of the blacks was during this period that the great noose of encirclement was completed and fixed, and the blacks of Africa found themselves hemmed and threatened in all directions. So Dr. Williams also says from the on another page, 224, very beginning, the core group of the Bushong set an example for nation building for all Africa, but few African states ever followed it. First of all, the total population of formation of the Pharaoh Kingdom can be estimated between 75,000 and 100,000. So basically, this group of people called the Bushongs were displaced from somewhere and they knew science. Were these the group of people that would become the Moors? Were these ancient Egyptians? We don't know, but the timeline matches up. I'm gonna find the quote in the book, but Dr. Williams says that they wander from place to place, and listen at this: they would make stuff, and Africans would become jealous of them, and they would have to run. Dr. Williams also says that when the slave trade finally popped off, the other African groups would happily sell the Bouchon. Like, get them, don't enslave me, get them, because they were jealous of them. I don't know if we Bouchon, but that sure enough sound like us, man.
But you know
Come on,
what?
Choke. Oh, go
I was
ahead,
gonna say
Wani.
something similar, that when I was really studying the Egyptians, like every aspect of their culture, they have the same aspect going on where they have all of these different things, and they do have a lot of different Africans that passed through. They were kind of in a crossroads area where a lot of different types of people were blending in together. So they weren't like a tribe. They have different types of people, and they had so many cultural aspects that people would come from, near and far to see what they were doing. And I said, that sounds like us. And I'm not exaggerating. They have the same identical um, level of attraction, the creativity, the innovation, uh, all of the kind of the cultural things. They had theater. They had all of these aspects of things that we have: music, dancing, theater. And although we don't know what some of those things are because we don't have recordings and stuff like that, we can't see everything they were doing. They definitely were doing it.
Yeah, and Dr. Chancellor, I'm not Dr. Chancellor Williams, Dr. Jacob Carruthers of University of Chicago did a study on ancient Kemetic women by looking at the sculptures and stuff hidden at University of Chicago in the basement. And he said, Wani, that our phenotypes, the phenotype of a Kemetic woman matched the phenotype of a woman in Chicago. And he said that was very particularly interesting because the majority of black women in Chicago were there from the Great Migration from where? From Alabama and Mississippi. So we off the boat. So a lot of us are off the boat. So Dr. Carruthers said not only the phenotype was a direct match between black women in Chicago and the Kemetic women, he said the way that they stand it, like for instance, to stand on when you put my wife does this shit and it drives me crazy. When you mad and you put your hand on your hip, he said that's a Kemetic trait. When the Kemites were mad, they would, according to sculpture, would put their hand on their hip.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wish you could find. Do you have that in a book? Because I can add that to some of the aspects of our body language.
I, I think it might be in MetaNet, or I'm gonna look. Go
Okay.
ahead, Choke, and then Beauty.
Oh boy, here we go. Andy, I think you might have just hit the hornet's nest. Um,
I always do.
okay, all right. Now I ain't gonna. I'm gonna go as deep as y'all allow me to go. But being a distinctive people in Africa, yes, that was definitely the deal. That was definitely the case. there's no, there's. I can start right here at my roots, in South Carolina, and trace it all the way back to Africa and show you just how distinct it was. And it's interesting, Professor, that you mentioned 1475. And I always tell people, I said, man, you got to go back to about the 1300s, 1400s to really understand, our true condition and why we're in the condition that we're in, how it happened, everything. Now, as far as ingenuity, um, as far as being creators, builders, etc., man, there's so many examples. Like it's literally, I mean, well, I'll tell you this about South Carolina history. Um, the state is divided into four regions, right? You have the upstate, the low country, the PD, and the Midlands, right? So when this is what they don't like to tell people. When they were bringing quote unquote slaves over, and then they were, these plantation owners were coming and they were buying them from the market and all this kind of stuff. They were actually sending them off to the plantations according to the skill sets that they already had. So your doctors, your
Right.
scientists, you
Facts.
know, all these your engineers, most of them were going to the upstate of South Carolina, near Greenville, Clemson, Spartanburg, and you can still see the influence today. You understand? So, uh, what's going on in Asheville with like the Biltmore and all that kind of stuff? Like, listen, those were a certain type of people that built all of that. And the low country, you had most of your, and this is the thing. It doesn't mean that the people who were in the low country were any less brilliant, because they were master agriculturists and farmers. You see what I'm saying? Their science was just in nature. You see what I'm saying? Like if you go and you look at what they built, like in Georgetown, the Sea Islands, like how they built and molded and shaped and cultivated the land, it's ingenious. They're still using it to this day. You see what I'm saying? So, man, the distinctive part. Does anybody know uh, about Alexander Pushkin?
Yeah, he created Russian.
Do you know his lineage?
Was he Moorish? I forgot what it was.
No, he wasn't Moorish. He was
Mulatto.
yeah, he was mulatto. But he came from
A
the
lot of
royalty
them
part
running
came.
around there.
Hmm. And the royalty part came from his grandfather's lineage. That's where the royalty part came from. He was uh Gannibal. What was his last name? Gannibal. His last name was Gannibal. Something Gannibal. I have to look it up. But that's where the royalty part came from. And he was kidnapped by the Turks and sold over there from his homeland in Northeast Africa. You see what I'm saying? So his story aligns with our story. And there's many more like it, And Wanda, you already know where I'm getting at. I'm just not going to drop the bombshell because I don't want to tear the space up. But definitely distinctive people,
Tear it up.
the language, the food. Now, go ahead, Wanda. Go ahead, man. But and I'm gonna even I don't know much about the Bashan people, Professor, but I'm gonna say this right here. I'm gonna say this right here. The distinctive people that I know or that I've researched about and about our people are the Israelites. And they were called many things when they were in Africa. But what's
Now we're gonna
significant is
fight.
this part right here. Okay, it's
You
okay.
gonna
It's
pick? You gonna
okay.
piss Wani off?
It's okay. But here's the thing: what people don't realize is that the black Israelites had a stint in Egypt, right? So they were not only confused as Egyptians by look, right? Hamitic and Semitic blood, it's kind of related. But the thing is, here's the thing: there were during their stint in Egypt as slaves, they were raped a lot too. So the bloodlines got crossed, and they started becoming different. Yeah, it happened, Andy. This happened. This can be proven. I mean, you can even look to the Bassa people of Cameroon. You understand? Look up the Bassa people of Cameroon, and they'll tell you their story and how they got to be in Cameroon and how they came out of Egypt. Their leader was Malek, and the story is Moses took a band one way out of Egypt, and they took another band down south out of Egypt.
Oh no, I
So
was just
it's
talking
it's
about the
very
rape part.
interesting.
I hate to hear. We to me, we that's all.
Oh,
That's
I'm
all we
sorry.
are. Or when you talk about us, you can never talk about us without talking about us from a standpoint of rape. I always tell people,
you gotta
I
acknowledge
don't
I
it.
know
You
know.
why
got to.
that's a
Be-
big
because you
deal.
know
If
why?
you really look at history, that's all they did. Everybody was raped. They
Yeah,
didn't
you
It's
even
a
know
power. It's
consider
a
it
power
rape.
move.
They just took you. I mean, the whole
exactly.
harem was rape victims
But it's a weapon. Like the professor
to
was saying,
push
it's
your
a weapon
seed through. You push your
to push your
seed.
seed through. Push your seed through, but to also catch blessings. You see what I'm
Yeah, you
saying?
know why? You know why I
Like
don't like it. I actually come from stolen women, so and I happen to know that. So when
Me
people
too.
bring that up, I had people stolen by the Indians. I had people, I actually literally I come from stolen women, and that's something that's passed down to us. So I'm so sick of hearing it. But they tried to rape us into non-existence. But like Juanie said, we're the only people that I know of who bred ourselves back to what we are now. I had this I had this
Right.
hypothesis that if you would leave us genetically alone, everybody would end up looking like me. Now I know people are going to be offended when I say that, but a lot of our people. That's why I said I believe that we're different because I think my mom is one of those people who actually represent the normal people because she's like 5'11". She's yellow. She has the reddish black hair, the big nose, the big almond shaped eyes, and the wide pretty lips. So I feel like we're a distinct looking people. So if you left us all alone, everybody would end up looking kind of like Andy. And they try to breed that out of us. You can't breed that out of us. We're brown people. Some of us are dark. I know that, but the dark ones, that's who we come from as well. They're the comely people, like Wani said. They're good looking. They're very, very good looking.
but can I tell you something, Andy? So here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Even with the skin tones, right? So the Portuguese Negroes were known for being the darkest, because this is what a lot of people don't understand. There's a group of Negroes who were taken into slavery who had never even touched Africa. You understand? When they were bringing them down to the Americas, these black Negroes were from Portugal, and they were the darkest of the bunch. You see what I'm saying? So we did come in all shades. That's why it was such a thing to be light. You see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, even in scripture or history, or there was like uh, it was significant. I'll put it like that. But to say about the breeding back thing, I'm gonna say this right quick. I'm gonna let y'all go. My great grandmother, like, she was such a. I mean, like, you would have swore this woman was a geneticist. Like, she wanted the most purest bloodline. She wanted to keep the bloodline as pure as possible. Like, I got a half Korean sister that I never met. My great grandma didn't want no part of it. None. Like, she didn't want any of it. Like, she wanted to keep the bloodline pure. She wanted a certain look. She wanted, like, a certain lineage, a certain temperament. Like, it's crazy. Like, They really
We're
took
saying the
that shit
same thing that
serious.
my people did. We were actually told that all of the people that they were that considered them, well, they would not say mixed or mulatto or any of that. None of that's a nasty word in my family. All those people married the darkest people that they could find. I was actually taught that. They actually went out and married or found people, who were extremely dark to marry so that they could have, this is what we were told, they could have good health, they could be intelligent, and they could be strong. So it is a group of black people. I know they were raised just like I was. They probably their parents don't talk about it because I know my people did not talk about it as well. It was, what is it called? Verboten to talk about like the mixed people because of the rape, but they felt like the mixed people were spiritually and genetically inferior. So they taught their children to marry like black people. I come from a slave who had red hair and blue eyes. All his children, my grandmother included, married the darkest people that they could find. And my grandmother said the reason why they did that is because they didn't want sickly children, and they didn't want them to be emotionally damaged. They believe being mixed with white people made you weak emotionally and spiritually. So when I say that we have black thought, there's a lot of things about black people that people do not believe. I'm not saying that we think we're superior. I'm not saying that we're racist and all this, but um, you have to admit that the dominant society uh, is really perverted, and they've put a lot of perversion into the world. So you can see black people working to get away from that. So I agree with you. Yeah, your family sounds a lot like my family. That's why I'm really believing that we were different even in Africa. We were so different that is one of the reasons why they enacted slave enslavement to get rid of us.
Have you ever read the book? It's called The Origin of the Negro Race.
No, I have not. I need to.
Okay, so in that book, the explorer, it's Sir something. I'll get that too. But he went around and documented. He went all over Africa and documented oral history, uh, physical appearance, um, everything, temperament, and he has the Negro in detail, and he's talking about the American Negro, but he went to Africa to where the mass of our people were. You see what I'm saying? And he even said that we're not from there, right? He said we're not from there. Our temperaments are different because we have a very warring like temperament, right? meaning like meaning like we love it. You see what I'm
It,
saying?
it
Our physical stature was different. And even went on to say that our true homeland uh is it's like more to the east towards Asia, and that it was underwater. Like something happened where it went underwater. You see what I'm saying? So, and even like the travel patterns, like it follows the Bantu migrations, but it talks about where we came from. It said we have more. There's more evidence pointing to uh us having an impression on Africa from the east, like more influence from the east than Africa having influence outside on us. You see what I'm saying? Meaning
I
that
don't
we brought
understand.
more. You know what I'm saying?
No,
What I'm saying is, it's saying that uh
we're more like people from
historically,
the East and the West.
no, the things like how can I say this? The impressions, I guess, with art, language,
Influence.
culture, influence, rice, all kinds of things. Like the very things that made us unique. More of that is more from is more of an influence from outside of Africa than inside of it. If that makes sense.
So
Well,
I
I,
disagree with some of the things because I don't think that they were strategically choosing people to enslave. Because I can see the people they're enslaving. They're just grabbing up whoever they want and putting them in these cobalt mines. I don't think that they were picking, kings and queens and all these special people. Uh, they may have used people that had skills, of course, to help. I mean, it would give you a jump start if you wanted something built and the person knew how to build things, or if you wanted something farmed and the person knew how to farm things. But I do not think that, based on the whole scenario, they really were just grabbing up whoever they could get. And it wasn't a particular tribe called Israel or anybody, because they're still doing it and they're not Israelites. Those little boys in that cobalt mine, they're not Israelites. Those men that I saw staring through those cages all over Africa, they're not Israelites. They're just random people that they that the people think are commerce, that people think are just property. So I don't think that it's like, hey, we don't like this one group of people. We're going to go gather them up. It was a lot of groups of people they didn't like,
Do
including
you
their own people, their own wives. It was kind of like the Salem witch hunts, where if you don't like your wife, you can just say she's a witch. Or if you want somebody's property next door, you just say she's a witch. So they were doing a lot of that, especially, they were doing a
well,
lot of that with their
well,
own
well
children,
what
even.
let me ask you something. Do you believe that it's possible that they gathered us up first? And like I said, because they despise humanity, that's what Africans taught the world to
First
do.
when, though, because they were doing this before the Arabs,
Exactly.
trans-Saharan slave trade, which led to the transatlantic slave trade. They've been doing this the whole time, and there's
Right.
no other groups that have popped up and had a bunch of music genres and all the things that we had. We're the only ones that did that because of our environment. But that same those same people that were snatched up, some of those people live in North Africa. They
Right.
live in small uh, communities up under Arabs in the same way as minorities as we live here, and they didn't pop up with music genres that want to make people from all over the world look. And that's the same people. It's the same people. If you want to talk about the African part of our lineage, that's who it is. They're still there.
Hold on. Who are you saying they're the same people?
The people that they were running around snatching to put into slavery, some of those people went to North Africa. Some of those people,
Absolutely.
they just went to, scattered all over. And we don't see certain groups of them within these mostly Arab countries, coming up with all these different types of music genres or fashion or something where the whole world is looking at them like, what are they doing? They have the same circumstances, but they just sit there for like centuries letting the Arabs call them slave. They're just now saying, don't call us slave. Because the Arabs just call them slave as their name. That's their ethnic identifier. And they also call all the women Filipino or something. If you're a nurse, they just call you Filipino. They don't care what your ethnicity is, because so many Filipino nurses, they have a lot of very rude ethnic bigotry over there, and they treat those people like garbage. And those are the only people that I go to see when I'm in those places.
Right on.
It's
We're gonna go.
interesting that you said that, Wani, because even in Palestine, there is a area called Al Abid, and it literally means slave. That's where like the black Palestinians live,
Huh.
and it
That's what
literally
I'm
means
talking
slave.
about. Same
And
thing.
yeah, and I just want to say I appreciate having this conversation, especially well, it's still the second where I'm at, but today is Nat Turner's birthday. He was born October 2nd, 1800. So a lot of the things that are coming up is just interesting that you're bringing them up today.
Uh-huh. Beauty and then Sister Sean. Go ahead,
All right,
Beauty.
I'm gonna hurry up with the conversation. Wani, I wanted to ask you a personal question, but I think you just answered my question while everybody was talking. I wanted to ask you this like about 15 minutes ago, and you kind of answered what I was gonna ask you. I wanted to know first, what would you go settle at, if any? Because you've been everywhere around the world. what was like your favorite place that you would settle at and just have like a vacation spot or just go back and forth to? And then my second question was, when in the world did Afro beats come out? Because everybody was telling me the 70s, and I'm looking like shit. I've been around for a long time, and I don't remember this shit.
I
And
think he hooked up with James Brown, and I think that was the 70s.
Yeah, it was
Kind of.
Spela Kuti who hooked up
Yeah.
with James Brown in the 70s. So yeah, there is
Right.
definitely Black American influence to it.
that's what I
Oh
wanted to
yeah, well,
know.
it's
So
just
you would
another
say,
one that we created, but it's just an offshoot of something we don't really get into.
man, I couldn't hear you. You was kind of cutting up. What you say?
Oh, no, I said it's just another one of the music genres that we created and just gift it to somebody. And then a few years later, when they start to immigrate over here, they start pushing it around and shoving it down our throats. It's like, what are you doing? You're just regurgitating Africanized hip hop, and you think you're doing something. You think you've created something. You don't want to hear Fela Kuti's quotes. You don't want to read about James Brown creating a music genre. They just are resistant to facts.
So basically, they tagged on. That's what I thought. Because when I listen to Afro beats now, I'm looking like, where the fuck did this shit come from? And now it's just like it got really like Americanized, and it's like, yeah, now. Like, was it worldwide before and everybody knew about it? And then, we.
No,
Oh,
no. Because they keep going everywhere and we co-signed it a little bit. Now it got credibility from us co-signing it. Everybody that's popular that's not a Black American has to be co-signed. And that's what we've done to Tyla, any of the Afro beats. Not only do we create these music genres, but we co-sign the people, the artists, and say, "Oh yeah, that's cool," and then the white people follow suit. Oh, they have said that this is cool, and then they start getting involved.
now,
That's because we want
I'm
gatekeepers.
sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Now, the last question I wanted to ask is any place in the world that you actually felt comfortable with? Like, something,
Yeah,
where would it be?
yeah. I like the Mediterranean area in Europe if they would clean up all the immigrants because it's got perfect climate. Um, I feel free enough to wear nice clothes without people saying, "Where are you going?" They're not dumpy and like America. I like the architecture. It's easy to go to different countries and stuff from there. So yeah, I do like it, but I still don't feel like I'm home. I just doesn't feel comfortable enough to stay forever.
Thank you.
Let me ask you something. When you say like to the Mediterranean, that that's a beautiful area. The only thing is, do you think eventually, or if ever, that enough Black people will go somewhere where it be worth our while? And by worth our while, I mean, like, could you find enough people to date or hang out with or have a good time? Because
To
I could see.
date,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Oh,
No, I don't. No, there's nobody to date.
okay, that's the only thing about it. See, then you wouldn't have any.
Your social life is stressed because I don't like to have interpersonal relationships with people that don't speak English as a first language because it's too much, huh? What did you mean by that? And I don't know the reference to this and that. And I'm not going through that. If you don't know references to things and you don't know, you know, things that happened in the 80s in the United States, I just don't feel that's a valuable relationship.
Facts. Sister Sean, I think you're up.
Okay, I think this is a wonderful question. And here's my take on it. Should the victims of transatlantic slave trade be loyal to Africa? And I think I have two answers to it. It's a domestic answer, and it's a global answer, and well, actually three, and visionary answer. Number one, what the Africans, to my chagrin and surprise and disappointment, the way that they have behaved towards us here on our soil, the United States of America, they revealed themselves, and we all know this in the past 2 or 3 years if you've been on Twitter. And I'm speaking for myself, but I do think other people feel the same. That it was a shock how they unprovoked came after us for no reason, where we never did them any harm. And that's where that word, a tether, came up, right? So when I get on Spaces and Difference, and there's this big attack against the word tether, but it's because of their behavior that the word was even formulated by us. I don't care what you call you, freedman, foundational Black American, that's who I am, Negro. But it was only because of your behavior that we were even creative enough to come up with that term. And what I try to tell people is don't you try to turn it into a some kind of phobia. You know, we're all about phobias and isms, huh? This is what I mean: anti-Semitism, xenophobic, transphobic, and it's so they what they're doing. And I hope that when we have an opportunity, push back on it. No, this isn't a phobia or ism. This is your behavior, and is the behavior that is characterized by that word that you are attacking freedmen, the foundational second indigenous people to this land. And it's the equivalent of a Sambo. It's the same thing. We got freedmen, we got African, Black Americans who we call Sambos, and we got Africans and people from the diaspora that we call tethers. But it's not even just exclusive to them. A tether is any immigrant that's coming in here in this country and practicing anti-Blackness. All of them are tethering. I don't care if you from Venezuela. I don't give a damn where the hell you from. If you coming up in here going against us, the indigenous people in this land, you're a tether. Now we're out here with welcome arms, okay? But sometimes those arms ain't hugging us back. And because we know this now and we're pushing back on that, then you go eat crow, okay? Go kick rocks, go cry in a corner, because we're done. Now that's on the domestic side. Now, globally, I was disappointed by this, that whole scenario. But then I started to listen and understand they are, and it's not just the Africans. I'm doing this with all immigrants. I'm anti-immigrant. They are dealing with colonized mind. So I would say it's a colonized mind. The disappointment is that my African, who I thought were my brothers and sisters, aren't acting so brotherly or so sisterly. But I do have some hope, because at the end of the day, I understood that we may be underestimating ourselves. We know more about their history than they do their own. And that's what tripped me out. So I gave them a little bit of a pass. Okay, on the global scale. On the global scale, I will always advocate for Africa. I will always work with, you know, these colonized minds, because at the end of the day, that is where the major resources are. That is the pulse of the global economy. Europe has nothing. They produce nothing. They don't have any natural resources. And if they do, and even us, we have natural resources, but our resources are limited. Africa's resources are unlimited. That's why everybody wants a piece of Africa. But the Africans, because they are in what I call a tether state of mind, or a colonial, they're in a colonial state of mind, and they're coming over here with a tether state of mind, and they don't want to join with us, so we can teach them how to break that chain, because they are literally shortchanging themselves. France, Israel, all of the West, everybody is pimping Africa. And then you want to come over here and act like you want to pimp me. Because you don't even have the basic sense to see how these Europeans are looting, pillaging, doing everything that they did to us, all of your wealth, and giving you pittances, pennies. So that's what disappoints me about that. But I'm not going to give up on them, because they're waking up. And let me tell you why. Let me give you a positive. Burkina Faso, my new hero, the brother out there in his 3 countries, Ibrahim Traoré, I believe that's his name. Watch him. They're kicking the French out, and I hope that this thing catches fire, and renegotiating all of their contracts, because all of these different companies in Western, all they're doing is stealing from them in a major, major, major way that they don't even understand. So that's kind of like my thought. Because okay, here's another thing. When it comes to Africa, I can't remember how many countries, but I think Africa consists of like 53 countries. So sometimes I think we don't kind of understand the mass or the massiveness of it. It's like 40 or 50 Texases. Texas is one of our biggest states. That's how huge the continent is. And so when you're dealing with that mass and those different levels and those different countries, you're going to have so many different dynamics and in ideologies, and then it's like layered with the tribalism and all of that. So it can get complicated. But I think the one thing that Africa is waking up and not complicated to is that they, which is mostly Western and external countries, are pillaging them. And I'm not going to give up on them. And I wish them the best. But they're going to hear from me. Here's the second part of my love for Africa. I love you, but you're going to pay me too. Because you were an active participant in my enslavement. So once I deal with this European here, and once we get stuff straight in the United States of America, we're going for the active participants in the transatlantic slave trade for Africa and Europe. Nobody is excluded in this. Nobody gets a break. The only difference is what I was actually, I'm going to tell you a little Chukwa Lumumba. And he taught me, this is the baby. He said, the war, he said, Sean, he said, the war is where your feet is. I'll never forget that. I'll share that with you. And I always keep that in my mind. The war is where your feet is. Right now, my feet is right here on U.S. soil. So that's my first battle. But it ain't the war. We going after Africa. We going after Europe. We're going after everybody that has ever had a hand in our trauma and in our Holocaust. So that's all I can really say at this point. I have a lot more to say, but I don't even want to take much time. But don't give up on Africa, because they're going to pay us. And if they have any sense, they'll listen to us, because we will be the ones to battle the imperialism, to battle the quasi-colonialism, colonization, and they're still enslaved. They're enslaving especially Israel. Oh, wow. Let's talk about that a little bit. I just recently found out that the GDP, the biggest GDP, the Israeli economy is crashing. But do you know their biggest GDP is diamond exchange? They've got one dude, they've got him in and out of court for crimes against humanity in the Congo. They're exploiting our people in the Congo like crazy. And it's Israel that's doing this to our people. And when you talk about our people, here's another thing internationally. The other sister was kind of talking about the Afro beats and this, that, and the other. Let me tell you something. If you listen and follow international, every single person, every single activist of any stature in this conflict that we're seeing now, we're at war. Y'all better get ready. And they just changed the draft rules.
Oh
Get your
yeah.
sons ready. Get them enrolled in school. Get them, look up how to dodge the draft, get their passports, and get them the hell out of here. Shit is about to hit the fan in this country. But let me just tell you this, because I do follow and listen to the scholars that they don't want you to listen to. And every single scholar, every single revolutionary, every single activist, if you listen to them carefully, they always invoke our people. They always invoke the freedman, the foundational Black American, the Negro. Every time you turn around, they're talking about Nat Turner. They will invoke that. They will invoke Martin Luther King. They're out here invoking Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass. I'm looking at the Brahmin Indians invoking it. Everybody is invoking. That's how you know you are special. I'm talking internationally. I'm listening to people across the global scale. And there's no other names when they're trying to state their case. It's almost like going into a courtroom. They always invoke our name. They always invoke our revolutionaries to attach to their revolution. That's how you know you're important. But what we're doing here on this soil and what's mixing them up is that it's not that we're not, that we don't have affection for what, or compassion. We're full of affection and compassion, but we're done with that. We're done with compassion and affection because we're not in the business of loving people who don't love us back. That's the difference. So you don't invoke our name for your revolution when we're right here and you still haven't given us restitution. That don't add up. That math ain't mathing. And this is why they get angry with us, because there's an automatic expectation. But okay, so we're supposed to recognize you're using our revolutionaries for your revolution, but you don't want to acknowledge our revolution unless you're in trouble and you're in hot water.
That's facts. We're gonna move
Yeah,
to
go ahead and move.
to
So that's where I am with the Africans. And that's how I feel. We have got to stay where our feet is, but we still have to be. I'm not going to let them go. I'm not going to let that go because that continent has everything more
May may
to
I
deliver
ask
to
a
the world.
question? Let me ask a quick question. I have
go ahead,
every
Wanda.
right to feel how you want to feel, but when we talk about there are minerals or something over there, what do those have to do with us?
Nothing.
How do we ever access anything? There we have no more connection with them than Chinese people. I mean, we're not owed any land. They don't care if we're related. We're not owed any minerals. So why should I be concerned about other people taking their minerals when they obviously like that behavior?
No, they have absolutely nothing to do with us. It depends. Remember I said I had a third option. It's visionary. And the visionary is that I understand that they're dealing with a colonized mind. They're undervaluing themselves, and fundamentally, we're not going to survive without Africa. Nobody is, not even here in
Why?
the U.S. So,
Why?
well,
Could
because
you explain?
what they do is Africa is the main host of all of the minerals for our survival, for humankind.
No, we have plenty of minerals here. We have oil, gold, and whatever, but
We
we
do,
get it from
but
them
we
because they're
we do.
dumb and they give it to
Yes,
us for nothing. They give it to the European and the white power structure for free. They just throw some little children in a mine and put them into slavery.
there you go.
So I don't understand how we need Africa.
Oh no, no,
They
no! I
don't
think we do.
control Africa, so we don't have to deal with them. Just go in there and take what you want.
I understand that that's exactly what's going on, and I think that that's what I've already kind of
So
explained.
I
That
don't
they're
understand.
being exploited. They're being
So
exploited.
they
And,
like that. They enjoy
you think
exploitation.
that? Okay, I don't.
Yes.
I think
How
it's
could you do
ignorant.
it for this? How could you do it this long and not like it?
I don't think they like it. I just think they're ignorant.
Uh,
Well,
I don't think they
how
like it. I
how can
really
and
don't
they
think that they like it. I just
how
think
can
that
they
they're
use
ignorant.
that? How can they be ignorant that long though? We're talking about 500 years of just them dealing with the transatlantic slave trade, and we're talking about since the 7th century of them dealing with the transatlantic slave trade.
Well, you know what?
And then we're talking about them doing it before the 7th century. So they like selling human beings. They enjoy taking people's liberties, and they don't seem to see that there's a price to be paid for that. And they won't even admit they're doing it. They think they're ghost people that can just, oh no, that wasn't me, that was a king. Oh no, there was no Nigeria then. They like to play games. They're
You're
not
right,
ignorant.
and
They're
that's a
just
column.
evil.
That's what I
They're
call.
just evil.
There,
They
well, that's
don't
that.
take responsibility for murdering tens of millions of people and they just go, oh, the white boy made us do it. King Leopold made us chop everyone's hands off. I can't get past that. And I don't
I
see where
understand.
we have to negotiate with them over minerals. They don't have any minerals. They don't have any minerals.
yeah, they
They're nothing. They're nothing in that continent. They're
yeah
You
nothing
mean to
there.
tell me you're sitting up here? You're going to tell me there's no minerals or there's nothing
they
in
No, I
they
Africa?
have
said
given they
they
give
don't.
like 100-year lease to
I
China.
said
Like
they don't have control of any minerals, so I don't
right,
Okay,
have to
so
deal
all
with
right,
them.
so that's a different statement. They don't have control of the members, but they
and
definitely have.
like they've given access to like China and these other places for like 200 years or 100-year lease to these mines and stuff. So I mean, that's why when you were saying like we're coming to Africa to take from there's nothing, they have nothing to give us. I mean, there's really should be
Oh,
nothing that we should even want from them,
Well, I
so
would
on
say
the
this.
contrary, on the
I would
contrary,
just say
they
this,
got
and
plenty
I'll
to give.
close because I think the host wanted to move.
What he said, they
I
have
think
plenty to
you got to
give.
remember that like I said, that's like 50 different Texases. It's huge.
Okay, can I just say something? Chuck
Sure.
said they have plenty to give. What?
Oh, they have plenty of
What?
resources. I
What
mean,
what can they
they
give
have
us?
hold on, hold
These
on, hold
people are on their ass on a fucking raft, rafting up on everybody's shore. What the fuck are they giving?
They
on.
can't
Okay,
even
so
keep utilities
you're
on. They can't even keep lights.
so you're hold on, wait a minute. You're talking about the paupers. So let's just be for
They're
real.
all paupers in the end.
No,
Yes,
they're
they
not. They're
are.
not all paupers.
Who is
That's not
giving
true.
anybody anything over there? They have one rich
I
What
guy.
about okay?
They have
So
one
here's so
rich guy,
we're
a bunch of corrupt leaders, and nobody's getting anything. What's next?
we're talking about hypotheticals.
Where Wani's going with this is they don't have military. Where's their military might to protect their stuff? You know what
I
I'm saying?
understand that.
Right. They're
I
being
understand that.
dominated. That's what I'm saying. I understand what Wani is saying, but that's a colonized mind. And that's what I'm saying, that
Mhm.
That's a
colonized mind.
permanent mindset to say that they're going to get over it and oh, they have some tough guy up over in Burkina
No, I'm
Faso. They
not
don't
saying
have a
that.
tough guy in Burkina Faso.
No,
He's
they
just going
definitely
to
have a tough guy in
crumble
Burkina
down
Faso.
and start begging the white man to come
No, it's
over
not
there
just Burkina
and
Faso.
turn
It's three.
his
It's three.
lights
It's
on.
Niger. It's like three of them. They're
Niger,
Mali, Niger,
okay.
Burkina
no. They're
Faso.
We'll
but
see where that goes.
And
no.
what
That
happened
that
to
that
Mumar?
Abraham
Can
is
we
What
take
taking out the
bets?
French.
Is anybody want to take bets on this? Because this is
they
something I will bet money
they
that they will get
I
on
want
their
to bet.
knees and crumble down and be corrupt and get caught stealing like they always do.
Okay, well we'll
you
see. But let me
you
just
You
saw
say
said
what
about
this.
they
They'll
did
strategic
to
intelligence.
never
Wani,
do
let me
What's the
tell you
bet,
anything.
this.
Wani?
wait
Abraham,
Ever.
the one in
What's the bet?
Burkina Faso.
Hold on. Let's let Wani land, and then
No,
Sister
I'm
Sean, you have
done.
a
Go
quick.
ahead.
Okay, so Sister Sean, you got a quick response, then we're gonna move on to True Station, and then choke.
Okay, I feel you on that because they've been dealing with corruption for centuries. Okay,
They're
millennia.
corrupt. They're not
Exactly, very
dealing with
corrupt. But
corruption.
but
They
what
are
what I'm
corrupt.
saying is I'm answering the direct question to the room. I'm saying my position is I'm not going to give up hope because I am seeing hope in Burkina Faso and those other three countries. They are kicking out the French. That dude has had 5 assassination attempts in him on him. He has did a what do you call it, like a cooperation with Russia to be able to build up his military. Somebody said in the background, a lot of times, if you don't have no military to fight these Zionists, you can't fight. You're occupied. You're under siege, and then that's where the corruption comes in. And you got a lot of people who don't have the guts or the liberation to fight. That's why that's on the domestic level because I know how you roll over here. So don't come over here in my country and try to post up and level up when you ain't did shit in yours. I fundamentally understand that, but I do have a sympathy for it because if they wake up like I see in Burkina Faso and listen to his speeches, that's why I added that other piece. It's not just him in Africa. It's the ones in all nationalities. They are all invoking our name. If you listen, if somebody sits and listen to his speeches, he talks about Malcolm X. He talks about the Black Americans. He talks about everything that he's doing is in the is spirit of us. I just don't think that we completely understand that because the average person is probably not
Why
going to
haven't
listen to
they
him
developed their own heroes? Why are they trying to pull our black
because
card
that's what they
all
all do.
day long?
The white
They go
folks,
to these white
Norm
countries and then
Finkelstein,
they pull our black card like they've been
all of
indigenous
them do
people
it.
living there.
All of them do it.
Because Wani, it
All of
goes
them
back.
do it.
It goes back to being a distinct people, and they know that even when our ancestors were traditionally in Africa, we were throwing our weight around there. That is why the people that sought the help of the Europeans to get us off that land had to do so. But we continue to do it everywhere. When our people went to Mexico, when they went to South America, when they went to North America, like we stay becoming kings and stay creating empires everywhere we went. So the homage that they're paying goes centuries deep. They know this. They're griots, the ones that keep all their history and all that kind of stuff. They know this. They know the truth. If they want to build a land up, if they want to create something new, create something powerful, they know that it comes through us. It always has.
And they invoke us. I don't know if you know Norm. I think it's Norm Finkelstein. He's like major in the Israeli world. I listen to all of these big time people. These people always invoke our names, and it's a good thing, but then it's a bad thing because I see what they're doing. So in your struggle, you invoke our names, but it also is a telltale sign. The telltale sign is that you know our struggle and you know we're struggling, but you don't get over here and you don't advocate for what you know. The historians know it. That it's all of these what do you call it, credited and high valued and high respected people, and it amazes me how they invoke our names all the way to Burkina Faso. Listen to his speeches. They talking Malcolm X, they talking everything about us. So that's why it's a love, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. So it's everything about us and still it's really about us. So it's almost like, okay, are you about it or not? So you're sitting there and you're using everything about our struggle, about our pain to advance your issue. And the fact that you're doing that, that's the that's the part that's the the what do you call it, the hate. Because no, I hate that you're using our pain, our struggle, and I'm looking at you internationally, and everybody, the average Negro ain't listening to the stuff that I listen to, and the people that I listen to, and the things that I read. Trust me. So I hate to see, because you're revealing to me that you understand my struggle and my pain, but yet you're right here and you're hand in hand. That's why the tether thing came up. That's the connotation. So you come right here where we are, where we majority live, and you ain't got all that energy. You ain't pushing that. You not pushing that narrative. You're not pushing that the fact that you understand and know that there's a disparity. And so then we still got to fight because you come here and then you're comfortable, because what you did was you held hands with the Zionists and you held hands with white supremacy. But then you preach that over there on your international televisions, and you come here and do nothing. And that's all I'm trying to say. But I understand what you're saying, Wani. I feel you. I feel you. But all I'm saying is that my position is I do have hope. Looking at it's only 3 countries out of 48. So it's like that little light of
I think
mine.
it's 54, but somebody said it's
54.
55, and I can't figure out what the 55th one is.
I don't know. But all I know, we only talk about 3, but they raising all holy hell. And I love to follow everything. They kicking the French out. They locking them up. He done had 5 assassination attempts. Putin is he's aligned with Putin, and Putin is helping him beef up his military. And guess who he's fighting? This what tripped me out. It's Arabs.
Well, I wanted us to align with Russia.
The Arabs is fighting
Remember?
them.
Remember that thing?
So
Russia
I'm like,
won't bow down
whoa.
to Europe, and we don't bow down to white supremacy.
No, I'm
We have
good with
that in
Russia.
common. We have that in common with Russia. But no, I'm not joining up with Russia.
No, in
Yeah.
fact, when I was in Senegal, even a lot of Africans, they agree or they approve of Putin because Putin or Russia never tried to colonize Africa.
Well,
Uh,
and Putin and Russia never held slaves
right.
in
So,
history. So that's just a fact.
I think they forgot something though.
What did they forget?
The monarchy benefited from slavery, each and
right.
every one of them. And so, since they were
Financially.
part of the monarchy, they benefited. Anastasia and all of those guys had their cute little outfits on, and they had all those parties when the peasants were starving to death. Yeah, that's the cousin of the Queen of England. That's her family. They're not Russian, they're German.
Mm.
That's her family.
There's that, and to be honest with you, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like all those white European races are complicit because they all come off of one bloodline, and I think it's about seven of them, 7 or 8 of them, and it's one bloodline specifically, and it can be traced back to the Bible. They are the
Oh Lord.
bloodline of the Amalek. No, well, you can say what you want to say,
Okay,
Wani.
I
I
meant to
can prove
say oh
everything.
Lords. That's why I
I
said oh
can
Lord.
prove.
Here's what
Oh
bloodline
God,
is true.
the
Okay,
Amalekites.
that's nice.
The
But this is
Amalekites.
the bloodline that is true. Every
Hmm.
one of those castles that got plumped on European soil was a Germanic run monarchy. And they turned everybody in Europe
Facts.
into serfs. So they started their little slavery colonizing campaign right there.
On each other.
That's right. And once they got them
And
beat
they
down and got them thinking that the the Habsburgs were Spanish, once they got them thinking that everybody was not, I mean, the queen's relatives were married to the Nazis. She was doing the Heil Hitler. What other hints do you need? She's a German woman. She had to change her name to Windsor because it sounded too German, because it was German. Um, they're all German. They're Germanic bloodline. That's for sure. I'm not doing bloodlines in the Bible. I'm going to do it right here in reality.
no, it all.
It,
No, this
it
is
might
reality,
go
and
back. It
no,
might go
no, there's no
back.
might. It does.
It might.
No,
But I'm
it
telling you
when
where it
you
is now. They are
and
still
I'm telling
in
you,
Europe. They still benefited from colonizing and they're still colonizing things.
absolutely,
So
and I'm
they
telling
did
you
benefit.
why,
Every one of those
absolutely.
European countries
But I'm
has
telling you
harmed
why
Africa.
they're your age old enemies. I'm telling you why they're your age old
Go ahead.
enemies, and there is no peace with them. There is no reasoning with them. There is no reckoning with
Oh,
them.
I
And
already
if you
know
th-
that.
and absolutely, and if you think Treyarch can deal with the Russians or anybody else who comes off that bloodline and be prosperous and be fruitful, it will never happen. It's not designed that way.
Interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've enjoyed y'all tonight. We've had quite a discussion. Any closing word?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Choke.
yeah. Don't I'm gonna be honest with you. Why you laughing, Andy? Uh, I'm gonna be real with you, man. Don't take anything for granted. Literally, like your whole life could be turned upside down in the blink of an eye. Like when I was here, no storms came and all that kind of stuff. It could have really been over. And the thing is, man, like there's 2 or 3 more that are about to make landfall, and
Wow.
yeah, and just as bad. So be thankful, be blessed. Love the ones that love you, and give grace to the ones that you're confused about. Whatever the case is, you know, just take care of one another. I mean, we get on here, we have these conversations. We fuss, we fight, we talk crazy about one another. But I promise you, man, I promise you, like everything can change in the blink of an eye. I've
That's
seen so
facts.
Man, brother, I've seen so many people distraught in the last 5 days. You know, um, I'm gonna tell you this one thing. There was one guy from South Carolina. He went to check on his daughter like during the storm because her room was upstairs. I think she was like 3 or 4 years old, and he kept getting the notion to go check on her. So he goes up there. He pulls her out of bed. Brings her to the door, and as soon as he gets her like out of the bed and to the door, tree comes crashing down right over her bed.
Wow.
So
Whoa.
so just be thankful, man. You know what I mean? Like just be grateful, be thankful, and not there's so much happening all at once.
Yep.
So many things. I mean, like the world, like if you take a step back and just look, the world is in complete chaos right now, and it's only going to get worse. It's going to seem like it might get better, but it's only going to get worse. So I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, like find it. I'm not even gonna say him. I'm not gonna try to push anything on anybody, but just find it. That's all I'm gonna say. Just find it because there's a lot going on. Don't get caught with your pants down. Like it's crazy. So y'all be blessed, Professor Good Space. Um, man, don't take it for granted. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's facts, man. A lot of changes coming down the pike, ladies and gentlemen. Um, a lot of changes. I heard Sister Sean mention war. That's facts. What Brother Choke said was very insightful. You never know. You know what I'm saying? Life is not promised. But what I want to let y'all to know is there are a lot of changes coming down. Never forget what our sister Wani just said about the German group. Look up Morals and Dogma, written by the occultist and Confederate General Attorney and Attorney Albert Pike. Albert Pike um, wrote a section in Morals or Dogma telling his group of people how to take over the world. And he wrote it in the 1800s. And he said step one was to attack the Russians, like Wani brought up. Why? Because they were so powerful and so steeped in their faith that they almost could not be corrupted. And in his instruction manual, he said, destroy the Russian oligarchy and replace them with a Marxist communist government. That's exactly what happened in World War One. And if you trace the origins of Marxism, Karl Marx was a Satanist who made a Faustian bargain. There are psychologists like Jordan Peterson and say that argue that Karl Marx made a straight up deal with the devil. Karl Marx was filthy. Um, he was a filthy lowlife. He had boils on his nose and on his upper lip because he didn't like to bathe. But you're going to follow him into his ideology on how to make a government better. People in general need to really study who they follow. Karl Marx was a Satanist, and on a lot of levels, Marxism follows a Satanist doctrine. So Albert Pike said the second step was, Albert Pike said, once you get the Russians out the way, the second step will be to eliminate the Germans, the Nazis, and replace and free a small group of people and give these small group of people a homeland. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Did that happen? Yup. And the last step on the in Morals and Dogma, General Pike says that there needs to be a war stoked between the Muslims and the Jews. And when that war starts to pop off, um, you need to his group needs to instill nihilism into the West. I'm looking at a conflict today. I'm watching with my students on CNN. You know where between you know who and what's happening in America. Absolute nihilism. Albert Pike says out of this nihilism will rise um, a certain superpower. I'm gonna leave that one to your imagination. We're in a dangerous time, ladies and gentlemen. This election season doesn't make it better. We're struggling for leadership. But one blessing out of all this is through all this pain, through all this rain, we found each other. And foundational Black Americans, we are all we have. We are family. Even those of us that don't have family to call our own, we're family to each other. Now, should victims of the transatlantic slave trade um, be loyal to Africa? I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna base it on this scholarship. According to Dr. Snyder and Snyder, page 5 of their book, they say, quote, the slaves were bought by black traders at fairs, which were held for that purpose at a distance upward of 200 miles from seacoast. And these fairs are said to be supplied from an interior part of the country. So right then and there, that shows that a lot of people, a large mechanism was complicit in the chattel slave trade. And Dr. Snyder also says the trade not only commercialized the economy and changed everyday life of Africans, but it also corrupted them. So with that being said, they didn't have loyalty to my grandmother who got raped on the um, plantations of Anion, Alabama. Um, so it doesn't make sense for me to have loyalty there. Now I think Africa's beautiful. I like to visit, and I love everybody. I got love for our African brothers and sisters, particularly for the brothers and sisters in those jungles where we were stolen from. But just this blind allegiance to Africa on behalf of foundational Black Americans is just not logical. We should love them from afar, and we can love them all we want. But first, we need to love each other. And on that, I enjoyed y'all, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace
Good
out.
night.
Good night.